Today is February the 11th. Welcome back to another episode of Vulnerable. We have a guest that we've had before, Gary Comer. Gary works with the Ohio ODNR. Want to give Gary a chance to introduce himself real quick, and then I'm sure we all have subjects and things we want to talk about, but we'll let Gary kind of introduce himself.
Yeah, great. My name is Gary Comer. I've worked for 31 and a half years in a natural resource related career, OSU, the Ohio State University,
Ohio State.
Currently district wildlife supervisor for the Ohio Division of Wildlife in Wildlife District 1, which is Central Ohio, 13 counties. I oversee all the public lands, private lands, and research programs in Central Ohio. So I'm a real true middle manager.
Middle manager. Yeah. And how many district managers are there in Ohio?
Well, district wildlife soups, there's five. Districts are organized, by section, law enforcement, information and education, fish management, wildlife management. And then there are district manager positions, which are over all those sections in the district. Appropriate.
Which is the person that I just mentioned or
Yeah,
whatever. He's everything.
Good
he's
colleague
fish,
up
deer.
in district. Yeah, he's over the law. I mean, he's not a commissioned officer, but Bob Ford's who we're talking about. Shout out to Bob's a great guy. We're not only co-workers, but friends. Well-deserved position. He had to be really qualified because I was runner-up.
Nice, Gary.
Yeah, there was only
okay, so he's not at the level that you
He
are.
is above me. He would be at my supervisor level, which is a district manager. My position is a manager position, but it's called a supervisor, and I only oversee the wildlife management section.
Okay. And he oversees.
He will be over Wildlife District 2, Bob Ford's his name, all sections up there.
Gotcha.
So that's how we're organized.
And it's headquarters.
There's 5 district managers then there's also higher ups like the assistant chief, executive administrators, chief, of course, that above that create the direction that comes down. And my job's basically to make stuff happen. I get direction down, hey, this year we need to survey XYZ. I make sure it happens. We need 2,000 acres of grassland managed on public land. It's my job to try to get that to happen.
Yep. Okay.
We would play softball in Defiance, and there was a lot of nice looking stuff when we drove up around Defiance.
Yeah. That's my sales territory. Defiance, Brian.
I would see good deer when I would, drive up there.
They're a lot of woodlot, ag field, and some riparian. And, even back in the day when CRP was still king, it was really good. And there were a lot of birds, a lot of upland birds. I mean, pheasant hunting was off the hook.
That direction was
from like 85 up to about 2007, the 85 Farm Bill created a lot of CRP and other programs. Right here in Logan County, I probably killed my first wild pheasant when I was 18, and that would have been 1985.
How many? It was as good as it gets behind your house.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of anecdotally kept track. I mean, we would kill or take people to hunt, friends, 75 to 80 roosters a year off of about 75 acres.
Wow.
Are you kidding me?
No,
wow.
no. And I can remember.
The quail? We would jump quail all the time.
Yeah, I do. I can remember quail. There are still some quail. They're holding on. There are pheasants holding on. Most of them are associated with, wetland complexes, WRP or riparian corridor CREP, which is enhanced CRP. But yeah, I remember. I mean, I enjoyed my dogs and taking people. I took your grandpa multiple times to kill wild birds, or my dad and him. We'd all go together, and the last time I logged or looked at where I kept record, I think I shot like 30 wild roosters in Logan County. And that was probably 2005.
If they weren't wild, were they tagged?
No, it's just, you can kind of tell. I mean, if you've shot preserved birds, there's a really big size difference. And the way they flush, cackle,
I can't remember the last time I've seen a pheasant.
So I was just, I
while for
have
me.
a friend that's a sheriff for the Hardin County, and he just sent me a video of a wild pheasant run across the street. It's first, I didn't see it personally, but like that's the first time I've seen anybody. Sometimes you'll see them on County Road 13 down the road from.
Yeah, there's a WRP and a permanent easements out there.
Yep.
Yeah, I see them there. I've seen them.
I'll see them between me and Travis's down in that
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, we still got,
there.
you know, and one of the traditional
But
places
it's been a while.
where there is behind my house, or what I grew up
Oh,
in.
yes.
Even when the numbers were low.
Were they still birds back there?
There's probably still birds back there, but not to the level because it's gone back into ag.
Yeah.
But I haven't walked that ground in a long time since it's sold. Yeah.
Chris, how many wild pheasants are left in Ohio versus like maybe look it up versus 2010 and let us know that. I'm curious.
And
on
this
that
is
number.
relevant to deer because you guys, we talked about this before. I mean, bedding cover off the hook with CRP.
Oh, yeah.
Warm season grass.
Yeah.
Crops here, woodlot here, close to the groceries. Very hard to detect. Some of these deer would, you had to step on them to make them move a lot of times.
Yes.
Is there a push to bring any of that back or try to bring any of that back?
It's
CRP?
It's socioeconomically driven. I mean, it's also farm bill practice driven. So if it's more profitable for folks to share, rent, rent their land, if commodity crops are paying more, and the lobby against making those, they have to price rental rates for conservation practices pretty much below retail or market rates for, let's say growing corn and beans.
For cash crops.
Yeah, cash crops, because a lot of the farming community relies on cash rent. So let's say I own 100 acres and I'm getting $250, $350 an acre to rent it to Farmer Brown.
Yeah, CRP's not paying that.
And CRP is
It's now
20,
in the 200. I thought it was in
Is
the
it
200s
200s?
now.
Yeah,
Wow.
some of the
That's
practices
a lot bigger
are.
jump.
And people that want that specifically for their property management goals or recreation, they're willing to take that. But if you're say a non-resident landowner, or
And you can make
the kid of,
$350 an acre.
the kids and grandkids own the farm and they no longer farm, they're looking at $350, $450.
It's the dollar amount, not
dollar
what it means. Because
per acre.
I remember my grandpa was maybe getting $75 an acre.
Oh,
It used
that
to be
was-
like 95.
He
95.
kind of paid for the property back there, some of it, and then some with
Yeah,
conservation,
you got
which
good
is a
deal
smart
on
way
that.
to go.
That was the business.
I mean,
Yeah.
I remember begging my dad to buy the acreage behind the house, and I'm like, Dad, we can have it paid for in 5 years. And he's like, well, you got to go in on it with me. And I said, the only way I can do that is build a house on it and live on part of it. Well, nobody really wants to live right next door to their in-laws. And I love my mom and dad, but yeah, let's put it this way. I wouldn't have wanted to reciprocate that move.
But a great thing to do is what friends, the Davises, do the strip around the woods.
Yes.
That's like
Yep.
20 or 30 yards
Yeah.
wide
Yeah.
around the whole perimeter.
There's
it don't grow worth a shit crops
Right.
anyway.
Right.
it's a
And some of those big properties, what is the minimum? 10 acres?
there really isn't a minimum,
Okay.
but some of those practices are competitive, meaning
It was very specific what they had to plant.
You put a bid in, and there's so many acres available across the country and state, and your application, you get points like saying, "Hey, I'm willing to do XYZ practices and take $20 less an acre," and then they bid. So like flat, really highly productive ag ground, almost impossible now to get into one of these programs. But woodlot buffers,
Floodlands, you know.
That's what I'm talking about.
So we have in Central Ohio here, we got 2 wildlife management consultants that I supervise that is split up that meet and do private landowner stuff. They work with conservation partner agencies like the Farm Services Agency, CWD, SWCD, NRCS, all those agencies have a touch to get into a program.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's say, you know, somebody listening has a farm in District 1 and they want to manage it and they want to get as much help managing it for wildlife. They can make an appointment with one of our wildlife management consultants. They'll come out, put a management plan together, tell them about all the program options that are available, and say, okay, here's what you can receive in cost share, rental, whatever for these practices. You know, I'm excited about a new program called the Wildlife Habitat Initiative, which is Ohio has about little over $9 million available. You know, the government shutdown recently slowed some of this, but essentially this is a grant to the state, and there's less touch requirements from all the other agencies. There's still criteria that you have to meet to sign up for this. It's very popular when it first got advertised because, you know, there was a bobwhite quail on the cover, and people love quail. I do too. You know, I've never killed a wild quail in the state of Ohio. Arkansas and Texas, yes, but
In Ohio, you never have?
never. Yeah, the season was shut down.
I guarantee I killed back behind your
Oh yeah,
route.
their season was shut down. I can remember.
76 blizzard or the
Yeah, 76,
77?
somewhere in
Yeah.
there.
Pretty much killed them all.
Yeah. So yeah, that, and they were on the northern extent of the range, but pheasants were tremendously knocked down. The 70s grain embargo that went on, fence row removal, you know, all these. Well, first, you know, pheasants are an introduced species. Quail, you know, were native, but they were at the northern end. You know, they're called northern bobwhite quail, but this was about as far north as they got. Quail are declining all over the country, and we really don't know all the reasons.
Reasons why. Chris,
Even places where there's quail all over the place that I would love to go on a wild quail hunt, it's exponentially less. I mean, you know, if you're getting 10, 12 covey flushes in a day of hunting, you could get, you know, 30 years ago, you get 3 or 4 times that.
Yeah.
You shoot a bird out of a covey, go on and find another one. Now they're killing 2 or 3, depending on how many guns are out there. And then,
Right.
then
No
moving.
kidding.
Yeah, in West Texas, you know, I didn't even have dog out there. And I had about 15 old home abandoned farmsteads that I got permission to hunt. And I would drive like a mail route. You know, usually the first stop, I killed my 2 pheasants. And then I would whistle or listen to the quail coveying up, and I basically hunt them with my ears. I'd go till they flush. I had double barrel. I'd shoot a bird, maybe 2. I'd move up to the next property and shoot quail. So, you know, there's a handful or less times that, you know, I'd duck and goose hunt in the morning, sandhill cranes, kill my limit of those, go kill 2 rooster pheasants.
ribeye in the sky.
Yeah, kill
I
2.
saw they flew over my house yesterday.
Yeah,
they?
that's a recovering species in Ohio, a long way from huntable. But yeah, I'd go kill my 3 cranes, my 3 geese, 6 ducks, shoot 2 rooster pheasants and 15 bobwhites, and drive back home wondering why the hell did you do this? I'm cleaning birds forever. I'm never going to do this again. And I did it about 5 more times.
So, Chris, what's the numbers on pheasant?
Doesn't have a perfect count. It says around 2010, statewide wild pheasant population was around 35,000. Now, it says it's from 2022 status estimates 3,972 wild pheasants statewide.
So 35,000 to 4,000. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's talk about some wildlife management concepts.
Before we do that, Gary, real quick, you talked about that new program. What's the benefits of that?
The WHI,
Yeah,
it is
what's the
going to
highlights?
pay the landowner to adopt certain conservation practices. It could be very similar to CRP, you know, warm season grass plantings, you know, buffer zones, edge feathering, which is dropping trees, creating some of those field divider type, mimicking old fence rows.
Yeah.
Things like that. And the benefit of signing up for that is there's a lot less bells and whistles. We've already done the work on the front end. We're actually partnered with the state of Missouri for this funding, and it's being held by a nonprofit organization, the Monies, and they're coordinating out of the National Bobwhite Quail Initiative and Quail Unlimited and a few things. So our biologists are out there writing management plans, trying to enroll and sign people up for XYZ practices, and a lot of it is cost share, not necessarily rental. I'd have to have one of my staff give you the actual breakdown details.
It sounds
but it's
like
a
it's
great program because it's accessible by a lot of landowners, not just based on the size or acreage.
Yeah.
And they're not competing necessarily nationwide.
So it sounds more flexible.
Yeah, there's
It sounds-
criteria that has to be met, but there's less government touches.
So there isn't a maximum acreage or
Yeah.
whatever you're saying? Or
No,
minimum.
or minimum is probably a
minimum.
better
Yeah.
way. And I could be wrong on some of this, but I would really encourage anybody that wants the details, Google it first of all.
What was it called again? One more time.
The Wildlife Habitat Initiative. And
Wildlife Habitat Initiative.
so you can always look online at the division's website and find Wildlife Management Consultant Directory. It'll be a map, has who does what counties. You can reach out to them, email, they will call you back. Let's put it, for example, when that hit the news and got out, and we had over 1,000 phone calls to return in like 24 hours.
Is this the one that's the buffer strips around the woods?
It's some of it. That's probably a border, a CP33, which is a conservation practice. There's different ones, but
This sounds
the
like if you have woods.
The WHI, well, there's programs for woodlot management too, but the WHI can actually mimic those borders that you're talking about, like at the Davidson's farm, where it's pollinators. And you're absolutely right. The trees, generally, unfortunately, where there's trees standing and woodlots, they're too wet to farm, especially in this part of the part of the country. You get up in the north, so that's why they're there. Then the roots will sap out, and shade will lower the crops and the critters. The critters usually tear up the border endrows.
I think it's a good thing for the people that complain about all the crop damage if you have that buffer strip around.
Yeah, it
there.
absolutely
I think
helps.
A lot of animals graze on that before they.
Yeah.
Because what it does, it moves your more productive ground farther away, so you're not competing with moisture, sunlight, all that. And the wildlife tends to not want to be overexposed. So this is a low stature growth, like grasslands, forbs. So the deer are comfortable in it, but not as comfortable as they are in standing corn.
That's why I was going to ask. So it's not like can it be, does it have to be a grass? Can it be?
It's usually a combination of native grasses and forbs, wildflowers.
And wildflowers.
So some of the native grasses,
there's some clover in it.
Yeah, there's different statures or height for native grasses, a cool season grass, a warm season. So you can have grass from, the 18 inches tall, 24 inches tall, Canadian wild rye, a cool season, as an example, versus Indian grass, which is a warm season grass, and that can be thick as the hair on a dog's back and 7-8 feet tall at times.
Called an Indian switchgrass?
Yeah, so switchgrass is one of the varieties. Indian grass, there's big blue stem, small blue stem,
That's
or
good
little
stuff,
blue
too.
stem. There's some really good native grasses. They take a while to get established, sometimes 2 to 3 years, and they're more difficult to manage. You need to, have an aggressive management plan. Could involve everything from mowing to herbicide to burning.
Yeah.
It was very strict on what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, you can only do this during this window, that window, and these are what your options are.
Yeah.
So I know when they had the big, on my parents' property, that big brush pile, and they piled up all the brush, and then we put in the little food plot. Over the last 3 years, the rabbits have exploded. It's like unbelievable the amount of birds, little critters you see just because you have this massive pile. You got a little bit of green, you got the grass there. It makes a big difference.
Friends in Illinois that do the big blue and everything. Their like turkey populations went through the roof whenever they did that.
They got really
the turkeys were roosting in it.
They got nest cover. A lot of turkeys were nesting in the CRP, but you still have to have a mix of those. You have to have bare ground, because think about a baby quail that just hatched. They're precocial, meaning they don't nurse. I mean, they're following along. They got to eat.
Yeah.
As soon as they
and
come
it's got to
out.
be somewhere
Altricial
close.
birds are like, robin's example. They fly in and feed the babies up till they fledge.
And quails do not.
As soon as a quail or a pheasant or a turkey hatches, they're on their feet and they're following mom.
So they need that tall grass to survive.
Well, it's overhead cover,
predators.
but the thing of it is, think about getting down on, if you have grass, think about trying to roll a golf ball. If it goes 2 inches and stops, that's not quail brood rearing.
That's a good
Or
thought.
nesting cover.
Yeah.
Turkeys, you get a little bit more, but think about a tennis ball on a turkey poult when it's first.
But they'll have a trails cut through there, or
Yeah, so what you really want is a percentage of bare soil, and nesting cover versus brood rearing are different. Nest site, turkeys are
I wouldn't have known
horrible.
this.
Turkeys are horrible about picking nesting sites. It's
Yes,
just,
they are.
I mean,
I'll see a nest and I'll be like,
they're edge oriented.
Two
You can
posts.
literally see a nest up against the base of a big beech tree in the middle of a wide open
Yeah.
woodlot.
yes.
So think about nest predator search patterns. They also orient a lot of times right off of paths, roadsides. I mean, some of the research that's been done recently with Ohio State University and stuff with telemetry, they're trapping these birds, putting transmitters on them, following them right to the nest. They have the ability to tell when a bird flies up, that they watch that, and okay, when they don't fly up to roost, then
They're on the
they're
nest.
sitting.
Yeah.
And then you can track
That's pretty
them
cool.
Yeah, it
right
is.
to the nest to observe if they were successfully hatched. And even if they were predated, you can identify what did it. And some of your predators on there are pretty obvious, but some are, maybe something you wouldn't think about.
You need to put coon cuffs 360 around
Yeah,
some bitches.
yeah. So you also have to, about 20. The last time I had a study presentation from our turkey biologist or woodland game bird biologist, about 25% of nests just get abandoned because somebody flushes them. They just, I'm done, I'm out. They'll probably try to re-nest elsewhere. So think about if a turkey nests along a bike path or a hiking trail, or you're just out mushroom hunting.
So about like a killdeer nest in my driveway.
Well, killdeer nests, they'll keep coming back.
You're
but
saying if you flush it one time, they won't.
some of the hens, about 25%,
Give up on it.
will abandon that nest just because of being pressured.
This might
on
be
it.
a stupid question, but are there turkey or quail boxes or something that you can do to help?
They're ground nesters, so
I mean, there's nothing
No.
you can do on the ground that'll
what
help
you can
them.
do to help them is have the proper components of grasses,
Sure,
and for nesting, and then you got brood rearing.
Sure.
So think they are insect eaters. So you have to have, once they hatch, they have to have habitat around where they got overhead cover, so hawks and things aren't getting them, and they can find bugs. They need bugs.
need bugs.
High protein.
Yep.
They move over into like grain and clover and stuff as they get older, but in a poult's life, for them to get to a recruitment age, meaning breeding age.
But you're saying that they're not smart enough that if their nest gets flooded out 3 times in a row down in a river bottom,
No, they'll keep
that they're
nesting
not
there.
going to go higher.
They'll probably go to another location
Because that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nets
So
flooded
what
out.
we're kind of limited to now, without like whole field CRPs, you're limited to them picking nesting areas in a lot of places, either in riparian corridors, which is along the edges of rivers. They're subject to flood. They're very subject to cold weather. I mean, Ohio had a period about 5 years in a
Man,
row
that's
where
what
we had
gets 'em is
nothing
our
but
weather.
wet, cold springs.
Yeah.
And so the numbers are dropped down already, so that compounds the effect. So also your predator search, the way they search, raccoons and different, possums, skunks, they're edge oriented. So they're traveling these riparian corridors, and they're more likely to stumble into a nest and raid either the eggs. Poult predators, believe it or not, one of the larger ones is not only hawks and owls, but crows.
Crows?
Crows will predate eggs and poults. So a lot of
didn't
people
know
don't
that.
think
I
about
didn't either.
that.
The problem is nobody looks at a property. very few people look at a property and say, I'm going to develop this for turkeys. You know, your chances of that happen are point
the other aspect of that is you could have the absolutely perfect habitat on your property, but if the neighbors they need connectivity too. So, you know, Northwest Ohio, there's several like properties, whole field properties that are perfect pheasant cover, but there's no pheasants because there's nothing but they're an island in a sea of corn and beans. Yeah. So the same thing happens with turkeys. I mean, all your upland game birds.
Yeah.
You know, some things that are doing really good in Ohio, you know, woodcock seem to be doing really well. They're
what's a woodcock?
A woodcock, it's a you know, they look a lot like a shorebird, like a snipe.
They got a long beak.
Okay. And their predominant food source is earthworms. So they migrate north and south based on where they have the ability to drill for earthworms is the big food.
So in
southern Mexico right now?
They want young...
Follow the hummingbirds down there.
Yeah, young forests. So a perfect thing would be some bare ground and trees that aren't, you know, maybe thick as all get out, but they don't get more than a couple inches in diameter or less. But there's a lot of bare soil and moist soil where they can drill. So drought conditions is not good for woodcocks either. And the flights are affected based on, you know, weather, moisture, all that. So some will come in from Michigan to Ohio and, oh man, they're in a drought down here. They keep on moving until they find.
I got a question for you, Joel. The property behind your father-in-law's property.
Yep.
Because of the what happened to it.
Yep. With the tornado.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did he notice a positive impact because of what that?
He has turkeys now.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Because I bet
there's turkeys in there now.
You can't walk through that
So
part.
there's probably enough roost areas for the turkeys to roost.
On the edges.
And then they've got some adequate nesting.
He's never had a turkey, and there's 4 or 5 living there right now.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Because that little woods next to my house, I mean, it's
and
so
there's
thick.
probably groceries close by or brood rings. So like I said, they got to have that bare ground and that insect diversity. So the more, in general, for any wildlife species that you're trying to manage for, the more diverse the habitat, meaning lots of wildfire, different diverse in plants, trees, everything. The more diverse it is, the more productive it is.
Can you do it? Can you be diverse with 25 acres?
Is that
Sure.
my wife?
Sure, you could.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. What are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing?
She knew I was. She knew I was on tonight.
She's got meat. She's got meat.
She's a fan.
Bye, Lisa.
Which I might want to talk
bye.
to you for personal reasons here later. Yes, I'm asking her out, Joel. No, she's probably going.
But that went back to our last episode talking about calling, the thing that came out on calling deer, and it was, it's
bullshit.
It's bullshit, and you're more productive to
develop
your habitat.
Develop your habitat.
Develop your habitat.
And you can manage. There is such thing as too many deer.
I think we know that.
They're affecting your habitat. And even with EHD, here's something that generally happens after EHD. As devastating as it is, I mean, if one of your properties, you found 50 dead deer and 3 target bucks, you're out of business for a while. But the recovery starts almost immediately. So those home territories are disrupted, and there's less competition in the area, so there's more resources available. It will allow for a more aggressive rut because there's less does, and they will fill back in. And they will. We've seen, if antler size is the only thing you're managing for, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, you're going to see an increased size in antlers and age class too.
So you like in
but it's not going to happen overnight.
So in like Southeast Ohio, like they, how hard they were hit, is that a 2 to 3 year
Yeah.
come back?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
think
what that
so.
kind of looks like?
Yeah, I believe firmly so.
3,
We've
4.
seen
3, 4.
we've seen other. Yeah, it depends on how you look at it, but definitely within 4 years, but probably depending on what your goals are for management.
But like Gary said, all of paperwork was showing, it definitely got blown all over on social media. I mean, everybody knew about it.
So, here's the thing about
do you mean by
hunter
that?
behavior.
As far as
yeah.
the deaths, the EHD deaths in Southern Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
But Gary said it was very pockety down there
Well,
as well.
it was a big area of pocket versus like where we hear, okay, there's 20 deer over here in Spring Hills or something.
Here it basically
like,
comes
it
back
was
down
probably
to, it comes to
300
one creek
yeah.
and one.
That's what I was going to say. You're saying essentially
It
there was
was
like
probably
one,
300 deer in a township.
one bad watering hole or something like that.
So the thing about that is when I talk about, it's not hunter behavior related to that. Your properties by the back of your hand, like the back of your hand. You walk through them in the dark, whatever.
Yep.
So do most hunters that own or manage a property for recreational deer or lease it for whatever. They don't tend to look beyond the end of their noses. This is my 200-acre property. This is where I hunt. This is where I hunt. Put all my resources, food plots, stands, cameras, all this. And they go out and walk an area and they find, 20 dead deer. They're
freaking out.
They're crushed.
Yeah.
And I would be too.
Yeah.
I found some darn nice deer on places I hunt dead, and I've recovered a few of Joel's for testing reasons over the years that were, I would, at my age, I'd probably give up a lot to kill one of those deer. Man, I wasn't going to go there.
You're right nut.
A right one.
Right nut.
But yeah, I don't need them anymore. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
you don't?
Both of them for
Now
a
we know.
200 incher.
Yeah. 2 nuts for 200 incher. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
I'm sure my supervisor.
We can mount them and put them up on the wall.
my-
Each one replicates 100 inches.
Yeah, my supervisors are going to love it if they ever hear this conversation. But that's absolutely true. It's recoverable. It's not the end of the world. They're a renewable resource. And
Do you think it'll come back better?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
exactly what I'm saying. It's going to come back better for a while.
Have you in your lifetime ever seen them reduce the amount of deer you can take in a county in the middle of the season?
No, that
was pretty wild.
That's unprecedented, along with the number of deer that died.
What was the number of deer that died in Southeast Ohio?
You can't
Put
count
them,
every
yeah.
one of them.
I mean, we got
so
guesstimates.
reports from property owners. We have, the Division of Wildlife has a website. A lot of states do, where you can get on there and say, hey, I found 10 dead deer, suspect EHD. You walk that farm, and Joel walks the farm,
Recounts.
and then you independently report the same deer
public
twice.
land, that was probably an issue.
Yeah.
A lot of public land
and
down
public
there.
land like that.
A guy that hunts here who is Athens County around OU.
And his area may have been smacked.
He had 3 landowners that between the 3 of them owned 1,000, and they took a Saturday or whatever and walked, and I think they found 100.
I saw that episode.
They found
But here's
100.
the deal.
I remember that.
His version or viewpoint of that is the deer are devastated. They're 90 to 100% gone, which when you're trying to manage
Who said that?
folks like your guest, that they look at their 1,000 acres between 3 property owners, they count 100 deer. That they look at that as, oh my God, the whole county, the whole part of the state is devastated. All the deer are dead. And in reality,
It could just be a pocket.
Correct.
Yeah.
It could just be a pocket.
So in reality, it could just be a pocket. You really don't know. When you're talking about measuring how many deer are on the landscape, you got population indexes, census, and population estimates. So to quickly describe it, a census is not practical. That would mean every deer lines up on the county road and we count them 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
An estimate might be where either used with camera traps, which you can do trail camera studies. There's easily available software the National Deer Association has a how-to. You can put up, for a period of time, trail cameras in a baiting location because it's keyed on baiting. And the way it works is you count all the does that show up and you identify unique bucks. So there's a model that you can, do a little math, and it's based on the total report of antlerless deer and how many unique bucks, and you can get a estimate on
I didn't know that.
how many deer.
QDMA. They do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's now It's now National Deer Association.
National
So
Deer
you can get an estimate of what's on your property. It's not 100%
Sure,
accurate,
yeah, it's an
but it's
estimate.
more accurate.
Yeah,
Then
that's cool.
Let's say if you have the ability to do aerial census or aerial counts, an index is, tonight I'm flying this 1,000 acres and I'm counting every deer I see. Now, tomorrow morning, it could be a different number. Next week, it could be a different number. So it's an index.
Yeah.
An estimate is, let's say I'm flying, perfect properties, a perfect rectangle, 1,000 acres, I'm going to fly right down the middle of it at 400 feet or whatever and count every deer I see within, if I'm using an aircraft or a drone, I'm counting every deer I see within, 200 yards, 200 feet.
Yep.
And then I take that number, and if there is that geographic area, if I counted 10 deer on this and there's 10 more units, I'm going to say there's 100 deer on this property. That's an estimate.
Yeah.
That's an estimate.
So index is a snapshot in time. An estimate can be extrapolated out to entire counties, regions. When you're doing aerial surveys, you can't fly an entire county. And then even down in southeast Ohio, they got canopy cover that's an issue. Currently, drones the scientific community hasn't really caught up to how to do peer-reviewed methodology to get population estimates. It's hard because you're still currently required line of sight, visible line of sight. So let's say in all those hills, you got to find a place, and you got to find a place that you can take off from and you can see that drone the whole time they're flying. And that's not going to be 100% accurate because I might fly this property over here that's just loaded with deer, and then I'm trying to make an estimate on another property, but I can't see it to fly it. It's not going to be as accurate. So fixed wings or helicopters, for example, when you see those, they're either individual property based, like ranches down in Texas. We all know I love Texas. They can get a pretty good population estimate as well as maybe even a census, depending on the size of the ranch.
Yeah.
But
real quick, Chris, you mind I'm curious what did we think, or what does ChatGPT say the EHD impact was in Ohio, and see if it can be broke up regionally? Because we're talking all estimates. I want to hear some estimates.
And think about this.
And then how many deer?
AI is going to learn from every social media post that's put out.
Not
there.
true. Not true. That's not true.
So
Gary. That's not true.
Well,
I do have to. Sorry, that's
maybe
not true.
But I'll give you an example.
Because we have it key to only go after scientific articles.
I don't know the prompts. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's different levels. But let's say an example.
It's not completely
someone
accurate.
has a Facebook page.
It's not reading that.
Or a post.
Yeah.
There's influencers that are actually making posts based on AI data that's absolutely biologically wrong. So the people will believe that because in a popular format,
we
it
do
might
that.
even say what they want to believe. That comes around a lot of things like deer numbers, disease, coyotes. It's been a real big one lately. Coy dogs or coy wolves.
I think everything's taken with a grain of salt. Right.
But every time one of those gets posted, it finds that again and it perpetuates. Some of that
we don't utilize.
I agree
it that
with
way,
that. You probably don't.
I'm just trying to. We're all talking estimates.
Somebody guarantees, says they got 300 million views on a page that I can look at and within 30 seconds say that's biologically wrong.
Yeah,
that's a problem. Because
sportsmen,
recreational hunters and things, that's gospel, and nobody trusts government anymore, right? everybody, well, you sit at your desk, you don't get in the woods and see what we see. There's some truth to that.
Yeah, well, there is an issue with the funding in government and the beliefs.
Well, funding is a big deal.
But
well,
I mean, like, I think when you talk, Gary, when you're sitting here, I believe what you say because I feel like you take it to heart.
Funding is a problem because there's not enough. There is no funding.
Or how it's spent.
Well, no, I'll tell you, I'll put my life on the line. It's very efficiently spent in Fish and Wildlife agencies.
That is probably very true.
I can't say that in general government spending, but you got to remember on what the funding model is. Most of these agencies are funded by license sales. They have the opportunity to get match, meaning Division of Wildlife has to spend, there's certain federal aid reimbursable monies for different activities. So you have to spend $1 and then you can get reimbursed 75 cents of that dollar. But that doesn't mean we're growing the bank with that money. It's kind of, I won't say it's a shell game, but to operate, we count on getting that reimbursement because the license dollars are in the tank. Now, the $500 hammers and stuff, totally different. But you can't and I get why people don't trust government, but you really got to compare apples to apples and not apples to oranges. And an absolute myth, a state that discovers CWD and free-ranging herd does not get rich. I don't get a royalty check in the mail every month because we have CWD in Ohio. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
But
you don't.
The agency doesn't.
You don't. There's no extra funding that comes because of you have no extra. You don't have a CWD funding. There's no CWD funding.
No, not for the state of Ohio. There are some research dollars that are made available. There was a National CWD Research and Management Act that was created, I can't tell you how long, that provided like $70 million, but then was not appropriated. So you can have an act on the books, and that's where your social media stuff comes into play. They read that, they don't follow up with it.
Well,
so Congress creates and passes a bill, but they don't have to allocate budget money to that bill.
These aren't social media. These are just Corey to Gary questions.
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
So that's fine, Corey to Gary. But I'm telling you, that's why hunters that say this is a hoax, it's all about money,
I mean, I see stuff
it reeks
where
of COVID, Fauci.
Deer hunting is sitting there and saying bad stuff.
They are, and they're misinformed.
Deer Hunting Magazine.
They're misinformed completely. But I can't get the credibility with enough people because, first of all, they don't want to believe it. And secondly,
is there a way to show it? Is there a way to get the credibility?
Yeah, if someone really wants to follow the money trail, it's public information. Go request it. But an agency's not going to do battle on public platforms or, it's not appropriate.
Sure. No, it's not appropriate. But you could see how, we can all sit here and agree how the COVID and
there
everything.
Are universities getting money to help research it. And I agree, COVID, I don't want to even talk about that.
I'm just saying you can see how things have happened in the past that have created situations where.
Some of these people out there, it's like, oh my gosh. There's literally people that think the EHD outbreak was
planted, was on purpose. Yeah.
Purposely caused.
Yeah, that's stupid. That's just, I would ignore that.
I want to know what's the percentage of the hunting population that agrees with that versus the ones that don't.
Here's the real question.
We hear from all the people complaining. We never hear, hey, you're doing a great job.
Gary, I think you're doing a great job.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate it.
We think you're doing a great job.
You know what I'm saying.
We're not attacking you. I'm not attacking you.
There is funding around research and management. And because, listen, the scientific community is trying to find a solution to this. It's not about making money.
But I get
It's like the insurance company argument.
What Gary was saying, though, so you have 200 acres in southern Ohio, and you're whammied with EHD.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, your 200 acres now has...
They say the whole county's that way.
Has food out the ass, and you have...
Yep.
So basically, the areas that didn't get hit, you're going to be...
You're coming in. Yeah. That's what I was...
They're going to backfill.
It's nothing for a white-tailed deer to go two counties.
No, you're going to backfill.
They're coming. They're spreading.
It's really not comparable to fish or pond management. What I'll tell you is when you build a brand new pond and you stock some fish, they explode. They grow really fast. They get big. You're catching them left and right. It's perfect fish.
But then
you want. But then if you don't remove those
that's
fish,
right.
and the nutrient levels don't come in, you get a bunch of little bitty guys.
So can we like look back on this conversation in 3 or 4 years?
I hope
and,
so.
Like we'll look back and Southeast Ohio is putting out some records or something.
Yeah, I
Would
totally
that be
agree.
kinda
That's
cool?
going to
That
happen.
would be
So to the west direction here, I can buy an acre of standing beans on farms, and it's going to last me for the year. To the east,
Oh, no, you're
I
toast.
could buy 3 acres of standing beans on a farm, and it not make it till November.
Yeah, one of the
You're
properties
talking about our area specifically.
I'm talking about here specifically.
Okay.
in this area of the county.
Like,
Really?
Like there
yeah.
is not enough food.
Yeah, I got the privilege to.
I didn't know that. I mean, I never knew it was that kind of.
That's that bad.
1 acre.
No,
I
yeah.
could buy an acre of beans and it lasts me the whole season on any farm
Yeah.
this way.
If we
That
left an acre
I-
of standing beans across the road here, I'd have great hunting in the wintertime.
Dude, there were, so you know where you're blind, like there were probably 150 out there last
Yeah.
night.
and
It's because they've just worked their way. They've
Yeah.
ate all the food
they're-
and they've worked their way
are
this
they
way.
eating up in the top corn?
They're like
closer to-
straight back from
to
Doug's
42?
house.
Yeah, they're in the upper field, so that bottom field was all beans. And last year it was corn, and all the deer we were seeing around
But you know-
my hillbilly.
But
No, I'm good.
But I drove. But I never. As the leaves started falling, I drove. By the cemetery and then went that way,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, no wonder there's no deer coming
Yeah.
out this way.
Yeah,
He
the crop
cleared the whole thing.
Yeah, there's some bedding.
Is he going to build a house there or
I don't
something,
know.
or what?
Yeah, that's not on the farm property, but I don't know. That definitely, like when we
That hurt.
set that blind up, that hurt.
All deer vacate. The deer weren't
yeah.
there. They vacated.
So, and I can prove it with camera data. I mean, I was
there were
in
never
the
deer
summer-
across the road
in
from the
summer
house.
when I put my cameras out and had some mineral out, which is something I learned from you. I was getting 3 or 4 mature deer. Did a August,
That's it.
3 or 4 mature deer that you would say, Gary, shoot that one.
Yeah.
I might have shot others, especially since I'm half blind.
The 6 is still alive.
I know, and I don't know why you guys just don't put me on him. He ain't gonna live another year.
Tim
I
tried to
yeah.
hunt him a couple times, and
But you had to be there like 24/7 to get him to walk where I could shoot him.
that's an old
lawfully.
deer. That's just an old
He's
deer.
old. He's got
Yeah.
no inches. But
No.
man, he is he's a tank.
I mean, it could be 130-inch 6-pointer.
Well,
couldn't
it could
I
be.
mean,
And he's so big.
That's a big deer.
Yeah, he's so big body.
That's 170 inch
You really
10-pointer,
can't judge
you know?
his antlers. And to me, he's a booner. I don't care. If I got a chance to ventilate that deer, I would be.
How old is he?
I
I'd
mean,
be
Tim
over
was
there.
hunting. Tim was like trying to kill him.
Probably 5, 6 years
Yeah.
at least.
He's elusive.
5 or 6. Yeah.
I mean, he's got to be breeding.
Got to be breeding.
I
Yeah.
mean, because antler size doesn't make you a good breeder.
no, he's
It's
breeding.
all about bully and attitude and maturity.
I'm doing a refill.
Yeah, go ahead. So
Maybe a Reese cup.
So yeah,
I get a
back
Reese
on the
cup when you come
funding
back?
stuff. I encourage people call, find out, ask.
yeah,
Follow
great
money
idea.
trails.
Yep. Just because we say
the
CWD,
financials of agencies are public information, and there's generally annual reports every year on what was spent on what and what they did. And you're always going to find somebody that says, "Well, that was a waste of money." You can never do enough, and it can never please enough constituents.
I don't think that any money that goes towards research is a bad idea. It's just
No.
as long as it's not mismanaged, and it sounds like it's not being mismanaged.
And I will say,
Do you
having
need more ice while
no,
he's up?
having
Okay.
been in the university system, there's overhead.
Yeah.
And that was a frustrating thing for me. I see why they did it. For example, overhead means, all right, I go out and write a grant proposal and I get funded for $1 million. The overhead is the administrative. So, for example, at a university, they usually have a research foundation. And so any of their employees, staff, faculty that apply for grant funding, say they get $1 million, well, $500,000 goes to the university.
Right.
And then they're left with $500,000 to do their work.
Right.
So when I was in the grant business, I would have to write grants or proposals and requests for funding, apply for them, generally twice as much as I felt like I really needed to get what I needed to do it, because half goes into now, the good news about a research foundation like that is they typically go and fund other research with those monies, faculty, staff, all those other things, to maybe get research done that could be a cure for cancer. You never know. Things like that.
Gary,
so
let me ask you a quick question. Can you get, this is kind of going back to the CRP and some different things. Can you look at a plan? Can I contact you? Can anybody contact your department and look at a plan on a property that isn't theirs, but they're potentially looking to purchase? Is that a waste of money? Is that a waste of time? They want to do it, but they just haven't purchased it, and that might be the decision maker.
So what you could do is you could do a lot of the aerial imagery and stuff and get the basic map or cover map and say, this is 600 acres, I got this many. And you could talk to a consultant and say, theoretically, you might be eligible for this program or this program. If someone is currently enrolled in any of those practices and you want to know, okay, I want to know more. How long are they obligated for this? What are they getting an annual payment on?
I mean, we need to get Tim on here just for that
Yeah,
topic,
yeah,
because he probably
Oh,
knows
yeah.
all of that.
Yeah, Tim's
when
probably
he's trying to
dialed
sell
in.
properties.
So here's the thing.
He probably has that conversation
Some of
all
that
the time.
is hard to extract as public information, because you're not going to walk into like a FSA office and say, give me the list of CRP contracts, their names, contacts, and landowners in Logan County. You won't be able to get that.
And is it true you can only have so many acres of CRP in Logan County? Or
No, it depends on what's eligible.
Because I thought I heard we
practice.
were maxed out at one time.
So there is acreage caps.
4,000
There's acreage
acres or-
caps, but they're generally done on a national level.
Got it.
And so I don't know what the acreage cap is now nationally, but I can tell you a lot of those acres go under contract out west, where
gonna
there's
say,
lesser
yes.
productive land,
Less
and they
productive
can pay
land.
$2 an acre rental payment a year versus $400 or $500.
So can you be getting land from a CRP program and have cattle grazing on it?
No,
No.
not. There are
Probably
exceptions to
not.
that. Let's say during an extreme drought,
Oh, got it.
you might be able to graze or make hay off of it.
27
Got it,
million
yeah.
acres
27 is the
27
cap.
million
Yeah, that's the
acres.
national
is the
cap.
national
yeah.
cap.
Good
So
statistics.
all that
Right.
is
I remember that they will say that when there's a drought,
So
you can graze your cattle on
even
it.
droughts in other states out west or other places, they can get exemptions to cut hay on CRP acreages in Ohio and
I
have
think
it
that
trucked
happened
out.
here.
Yeah, it has happened. So yeah, the national cap is there, and it's so. Just think of it this way, when you're leasing a property for hunting, some's going to demand more per acre than others. So when you got this small grain, highly unproductive, possibly or lower yielding, they can lease, or basically tie up in CRP thousands of acres versus hundreds in another state, because
Man, I love CRP.
Yeah, CRP is awesome. I mean,
it is.
We just went to one of your properties, and I was like, ooh. I was like, Joel has you don't see it anymore. It's like like seeing a pheasant.
I have farms that were once all CRP and they're now all crops, and it was better.
So there are
it was
some-
better when it was
you know,
CRP.
There's some public areas that are managed for the equivalent of that you can, and they're public land. I can tell you for a fact that Lee Ellis's latest buck was walking on public property that I was very aware of.
That was a public property buck?
The
The Marion County?
Yeah. But keep in mind, it's Marion, Delaware, Morrow right there in that circle. So,
Yeah, Lee Ellis's buck, the one that he killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, kudos to him.
Yeah, got it done.
And
Good
I know
for him.
several people personally that had encounters with that deer.
Yeah, I saw the comments. There was several people that had pictures. There were several people that had videos, and so
And I don't know all the details.
he got it done. That's what it matters.
He got it done.
I think it's awesome.
You know, I don't know how people do that, but I'm pretty sure he was getting help. He may not have been paying for the help, but somebody was.
I'm sure. You know,
so that'll
living in
move us
Georgia.
on to the drone topic.
Yes, that's. I was literally about to drop.
That'll move us on to the drone topic, Gary.
Yeah. So drones are great.
Was he implementing that?
Not that I'm aware of. And any deer of that caliber, I assure you, gets some investigating. And if you kill one that size, you want to be investigated if you're legitimate.
what does a drone have to do with being investigated?
Yeah, I was going to say,
he can legally fly
Well,
that thing.
It's not illegal.
So, yeah, no, it's not illegal. I don't
Just
know.
as long as you're not hunting, right?
I don't know if a drone was represented or was used or not. But for example, you know, I'm sure you're inventorying your properties maybe even before you lease them.
He's not.
Never
He's
done it.
never
Never done
inven-
it?
He's never
Never done
inventoried
it.
a property.
And Tim has one.
Yeah.
Never done it.
So-
Joel has said that
I'm
so many
saying,
times.
To me-
if that guy is making
So here's
$1
the
million
problem.
on his YouTube,
Yeah.
and he is not trying everything in his ability to kill that deer, and a drone is allowed,
Well,
you're
there's also
stupid if you're not.
There's also
Right.
this. Egos are big, right? So let's say I know that deer exists. I may not even for a dime call you, Joel. I got a monster. You got to put somebody on this. Then I can brag and say, I did that.
I don't get that.
No, you don't.
I mean, I've had 200 inchers where I could have sold for customers for $50,000 or $60,000 to come.
yeah,
kill
I know
it.
you don't do that. You the flat
and I
rate
could have done
experience
that.
of a hunt. So
Yeah.
I can't tell you if he was paying for that information, but I would say that somebody probably saw it somewhere.
Well, I mean,
and
even
knew where it was at.
Even removing that, so let's talk about drones. What's the state of Ohio? Not, I don't want to hear Joel myself.
No,
your
I get it.
personal opinion. I want to know what does the state of Ohio think.
I don't know. There's no stance
no-
on it right now.
no stance.
I know that you know, a lot of regulations come about because of need from people abusing things. Also, unfortunately, there's a ballot box wildlife management. So keep in mind, I think I've told you this multiple times, you know, the biologists and the resource managers, they make recommendations.
Reports up to the one person.
They make recommendations and policymakers make the decisions. And in fairness to the policymakers, they've got a lot of things you got to take under your hat. You know, Tim and I talk about this all the time. He's frustrated. Well, it just needs to be like this. And I'm like, Tim, I'd love to make it that way, but we don't have that authority or ability.
When you're talking about government, it's never going to be like that.
CRP, stuff like that. So there's all kinds of other influences, you know. There are, just talk baiting or drone. There are thousands of hunters in Ohio that were perfectly happy with shooting a 130-inch deer on a bait pile. So there's also a high probability that same buck gets hit on the road, dies from EHD. So who or anybody to say, yeah, that's bogus. Now, I get it from a big property management standpoint, even from folks leasing and outfitting. You know, bait ban would be probably wonderful for business because the reason is, you know, I can't have 10 acres next door, put a bait pile that you can see from space, which, let me tell you, they exist.
They do.
Some of the information I brought was a Mississippi State study that you guys could look at that's done on baiting.
The whole 10 acres is a corn pile.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite that bad.
My friend in Kansas, his mentality was my bait pile's got to be bigger than yours. I mean,
Yeah.
that was
Well,
his
yeah, it
mentality.
is. If I had a 40-acre,
Back the truck up. And
if I had even a 100-acre property that's beautiful next to, let's just say, some of the big land block in eastern part of the county.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. If that guy has 150 acres of food plots, feeds 200 tons of supplement, mineral, and corn a year, and I got 100 acres next door.
Takes five 5 acres.
or
next
5
door.
acres next door.
5 acres.
How am I going to get those deer there?
Right.
Yeah.
They're not. I got 3 acres.
600-gallon corn feeder.
Yeah,
Yep.
I got 3 acres in my property, and I really need to figure out how to get a food plot.
Hey,
in.
based off of the YouTube videos, it's now drones and baiting. You can load the corn into the drones and
Well,
dump
yeah,
it
there's
from the
drone
air.
services. Some of those ag drones and some of those big they'll lift a deer and fly it out after
I've
you
seen
kill
those
it.
videos. So
So all you're doing on that 5 acres is you're making sure you can go get your deer.
That's right. That's
all
right.
you're doing.
Yeah, just make sure you got the permission. There's nothing wrong with hunting 5 acres. You have to get permission around.
Yeah, but you got to have a reason for deer to walk on that property. It either got to be the perfect pinch point where they're traveling from property to property, or you got to have something there to stop them. Food.
Yeah, food.
So, I personally believe my particular property is probably a little combination of both. It's got to be a pinch point because I'm getting some amazing nighttime pictures of some really nice deer. And I've been hunting.
Get that dialed in.
I've been hunting deer since 1979, and the best, if I want to count numbers, is about a 155. And me aging that deer, he was 2.5.
2.5.
The deer I killed in the ABC plot,
Yep.
and that was 2017, I think. There was 3 deer I was hunting, and I was like texting you and Tim daily. And he came out, and I was tickled to death. It was a great deer for me, biggest of any I've ever killed. And once I got the caped out, I took the jawbone, and I'm looking at tooth replacement and wear. I'm like, I can't put, and at that time, it wasn't really a thing to send the incisors off. I'm looking at this, and I showed multiple coworkers, colleagues, and they're like, I can't get it out past 2.5. And really, tooth wear and aging is only really 100% accurate up till 2.5 because of certain teeth that, the fawns are have 5 teeth. So if it's 6 teeth, they're automatically going to be in the yearling category, which a yearling is not a button buck or a fawn. A yearling is a 1.5-year-old deer. So then the 1.5-year-old deer will replace a premolar. They'll start out as their baby teeth are bicusp, meaning they have 2 humps, we'll say that. Once they get into the next advanced stage, that tooth will pop and there'll be a tricusp. So if it gets to a tricusp level, it's going to be put into an older age class. So you can kind of tell tweeners too. I've literally looked at deer jaws where the tooth coming in is still pushing the baby tooth out. And you can literally sometimes just grab it and flip it out. That's how you go. And then you got staining and some other things. But
there's something though that you can. Is there something now that you can send them to?
There's one tooth you can send off.
There's the front, bottom. Well, deer don't have the teeth on the top jaw in the front. It's the bottom jaw. And you can pull the root and everything. And they age them in laboratory settings. I don't know what they charge. It's like
$10.
So many. Well, it's so many deer.
Isn't that cheap?
Yeah,
10.
it's more like 25. It's like I think we send some
cheap.
off because we have an old doe contest and we send them off and we'll contest based on tooth wear and stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm not believing that. Example. I don't know if you saw her, but same year I killed my ground shrinkage buck. I killed a 5.5-year-old doe,
and that was sent off.
I did send it off because I was competing with a deer that came out of Fairfield County. And Fairfield County, Logan County, totally different habitats. I make the joke in Fairfield County, they're eating rocks. But think about it.
Fairfield County, Cincinnati?
No, Lancaster.
Lancaster.
As would be the biggest. So think about they're more timbered. They got more hard mast. Here we got corn, soybeans, a little bit of hard mast, the ag crops. Wear is going to take you longer to wear your teeth down if you're a Logan County deer in that kind of a landscape. If you're in Southeast Ohio, Texas, places like that, the tooth replacement and wear, replacement is really accurate, but wear is a sub.
Sure.
So you can pull the bottom.
You could have a deer that likes to eat something that is different from
Yeah,
this
you can
deer
have
too.
that.
I mean,
but so you can pull the bottom incisors, and there's labs out. I think one of the more used ones out in Montana, and they give you a price per start out like say 3 deer at this price, and then each additional deer goes down. But it's not really truly unaffordable. So it's just bragging rights. So I'm looking at that 5.5-year-old, and then I'm looking at the one that, I wasn't eligible to age it because I was in the race, right? So another person says, nope, this deer's 6.5. I agree yours is 5.5, but this is 6.5. And I'm like, there's no way, but that was the Fairfield County deer. Even the guy that harvested.
so what was it?
Yeah.
Did they have
Even
100% documentation or not?
Well, this was just based on their best judgment after aging deer for 20. No, so that's why we sent it off. So even the guy that harvested the deer goes, nah, Gary wins. And as an example, that lower jaw would fit completely inside of my jaw, and it had at least 1 inch or more on each side of that. That's the difference in size. But then old deer don't necessarily mean big deer. But,
Right.
The doe I wanted to harvest back in October, if I could have got her, she was huge, probably the oldest deer in the group. But I still killed a solid 3.5-year-old, but that's not good. I did take another deer that I'm saying is a 5.5-year-old doe this year, but she probably won't even compete because I'm looking at some from like Knox County and other counties that are probably like based on tooth wear. We're looking at that and saying that nanny should be on a walker.
She had Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah, yeah.
do you guys ever think, I mean, is this true? I mean, that like humans gray different than, somebody can be gray at 30, somebody could gray at 70, somebody can be 6'9".
So you can't go by muzzle color. I mean, you can look at a deer and go, that's an old sucker. You just know if you've seen enough of them. But truthfully, from deer management standpoint, all that matters are fawns, yearlings, and adult, which is 2.5 or up. 3, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, 10.5 has no bearing on. There's a totally different from managing herd health, deer densities has nothing to do with what we covet as being something to hang on the wall.
What were you going to ask, Joel?
I mean, I basically will look at these.
Well, you can't really tell from those, believe it or not.
If these are like down to
nothing. Yeah, that's older.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the teeth you pull, and they slice them.
I think it's just like that one right there.
Yeah, it's just like rings on a tree.
Yeah.
Or scales on a fish. Believe it or not, you can take a fish scale and
fish scale will
magnify it.
I didn't know that.
And count rings.
Scales are a little less accurate than what's called odorless, which a lot of people don't. And I've dealt with thousands of those back in college and internships. But they have a ear bone, like you'll see, like drum sheephead up on Lake Erie. You'll see them washed up on the shore. They call them lucky stones. Those are the most accurate. It's like the equivalent of ivory for
an elk.
For a fish.
Sorry.
So they will cut those, crack them in half, polish them down, and then and you can count the rings on those. So scales sometimes, if let's say they get injured or they regenerate, the lines are a little less. You dye them, do different things. But anyway, we're not talking about fish. But
so Gary, I want
elk will one tooth will be ivory on an elk.
Yeah, definitely.
We're kind of at the hour mark. Is everybody okay?
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah. Gary, I wanted to kind of jump to the last time I think you were here. I was looking at the date. Chris could probably look it up. I think
October?
it was was it about 5 months ago? Sound about right?
Probably.
Right before hunting season.
I think it was, September.
Yeah,
then.
It was September. I was going to say September.
I think it was, episode 3 or
4,
maybe,
4 or 5.
It was?
Yeah, it's up there. You'd have to maybe Chris can figure it out.
I'm
but it was
double-checking
in the bottom 5. I know.
No shit.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
I think the subject then was kind of, we were talking about baiting.
Yeah, baiting, disease.
So baiting changed at all in Ohio, or the talk, or
No, there's no recommendations that I'm aware of, and except for within the CWD endemic area, CWD area, that's been a total baiting
Episode
ban.
7.
episode 7?
Episode 6, 7 months ago. Sorry.
So I
episode
was
6, 7 months ago.
So I was off by one. I thought it was
7
5.
months ago?
Yeah, yeah.
We've only done, but if you think about once a week,
You're up to
20,
what, 20
21
now?
episodes,
19, 20?
21 episodes.
Yeah, because we were kind of in.
We were,
I mean,
we were all,
Rick Bussey, who I love, had 2 episodes. You
Yeah.
know?
He did.
I love Rick.
because Rick was just so, he's
yeah.
so fucking hilarious. I love Rick.
He's great.
He's a character. He's
You
an
know,
awesome guy.
I'm not. I don't know him like Joel does, but
It was
I've
like
known
he
him
was
a
saying
long
shit I
time.
didn't
He
even know he
probably
did.
wouldn't even know who I am if you mentioned me, but if I walked into his shop, he probably would, because I've taken him some subpar, dad's deer that you were there for.
Yeah.
Took him in there.
He mounted that?
No, he scored it. I took in. I remember trading him.
Dave and Sid.
Yeah,
Sure.
no, it was the other guy down in West Liberty that's out of business. And now when I look at it, Rick begged me to remount it, and I think probably I will do that now that Dad's gone. He would never let me do it.
That guy did one deer for me, and I threw the whole thing away.
Yeah, it was the same one off the same farm. You
Yes.
guys killed it a day apart or the same
like
day?
23 or 24 inches wide.
That thing, Joel's didn't have the height or
No.
the length of the tines, but that thing looked like a longhorn steer.
I've heard Joel say this probably 4 different times. I had one in the freezer. I had one mounted.
I know.
I throw them away. I'm like,
Yeah, deer
my
I'm
God.
drooling over.
What's-
He's like,
what's
whatever. I'm
worse?
not going to shoot
I
that
threw
one.
away like a 150 something Kansas deer.
Yeah.
It's like, what's
covered in
worse?
ticks.
Putting them in the attic or throwing them away. I don't know which one's worse.
What's worse or what's worth it is let me and Corey kill them. Damn it.
I'm good. I got my own deer. I'm
Yeah,
good.
you do, but
I'm
I
good.
don't. And that's the thing. Managing deer as a biologist is totally different than managing deer for trophy hunts and and whatever you define as a quality hunt. That was my point on. So you don't look at how many 6.5-year-old bucks you killed in the state of Ohio. Honestly, we couldn't get that kind of accurate information. But what I have found is, I've been presented with jaws like, hey, tell me how old you think this is. And I tell them, and they're like, you're full of crap. You don't know what you're talking about. This deer's at least 10. Maybe, but probably not based on having aged several thousand deer in the last 20 plus years.
Didn't we hear that like Zach's was like 3.5 or 4.5?
It was young. It was young. I
it's
think
fair-
it was.
you-
I think it was like 4.5.
Age doesn't.
I think he said 4.5.
I know you started talking age over inches, so inches doesn't necessarily
that-
account to age.
Like Zach's was not old.
I think it
not
was.
old. It
Did
was
he say
3.5
3.5?
or 4.5.
Just like
It
that.
was something.
That 10 that I got, I'm telling you, it's
was
2.5
2.5?
2.5-year-old.
Did
In the
Zach-
150s.
Yeah, 155.
Well, I mean, if Zach's-
between 145, we scored it with a raculator, so the processor taxidermist I took it to just so it could be. It's at least 140s, which even a 2.5 and 140s.
I've always said if you know what you're kind of doing, you can be within 5 inches.
Yeah, and a lot of scanning software now is almost.
But I
You
remember.
can get on your cell phone now and get.
Yeah.
I'm
probably-
just trying to go back to practicality. I remember Zach making that statement. Did he say
I think
3.5 or
Rick said that.
did
And
Rick say
said
that?
3.5 or 4.5.
Well,
That
and I
is
would believe Rick.
unbelievable.
Rick.
Oh, yeah,
seemed-
no, I believe
even
either-
looking at teeth.
I believed either one of them.
Rick said that.
I couldn't. I forgot that conversation because I was thinking 230 inches of antler. Even at 4.5, you're
Well,
like, that doesn't even seem physically
No, that doesn't.
possible.
Well, yeah, kind of. They could hit a wall.
It's a lot of antler.
Like I said, I've seen deer that were absolutely aged by Semenum annuli that were in that 200 range.
What does that mean?
What does that even
That's
mean?
the rings, the cementum of the tooth. It's the annuli. That's the annual rings, just like annuli on
Got
a
it.
tree.
When you look at
Yes.
the bottom of the antler?
No, it's the
that
tooth.
Oh,
So
we're
the
going back
tooth
to
is
tooth
extracted.
again.
It's
Yeah.
cut in half,
they
grind down,
count the
and then
rings.
put they stain it. They put a microscope on it, and they literally 1, 2, 3, 4.
So, Gary, let's shift gears.
Sure.
Going back to baiting. No, you don't. There's no major changes coming other than CWD risk areas.
There is a lot. None. No, I haven't seen the deer proposal regulation changes yet, but my understanding is no. There is not currently a proposal that I am aware of for a baiting ban.
Do we have is Ohio unique in the fact that we have, why are we one of the giant, we produce massive deer. Maybe Joel's answered this. I can't remember it.
Well,
we produce massive deer, and we're one of the only states that I can think of that allows baiting.
So first of all, baiting has always been lawful in Ohio. A lot of people, like when Joel and I were kids, we didn't think it was legal. I didn't think it was.
Never did it.
Never did it. No. Didn't think about it. We'd also hunt a week and not see a deer and kept going, freezing our buns off. They didn't have the clothes like we got now. And, I can remember him and I getting tossed around in a fence row.
The waffle long johns.
Waffle, long johns, maybe some flannels.
I still use my grandpa's as an under.
Yeah.
My grandpa gave me pants in a long, and it's a real. They were always real short at the top, so like your belly's hanging out.
You look at the old Fur Fish Game magazines
that's
and
not
stuff.
The long johns. That's you.
The wool, like the traditional red garb you would see up north that was wool. We didn't even have things that good. So now, I'm sporting $1,500 QU and all that stuff. But I'll tell you, it's well worth it. I mean, I am comfortable.
We're on that subject. I'm going to tell you guys something. If you go to Walmart and you buy the cheapest fleece hoodies they sell, you put one of those fleece or wool hoodies on. I'm talking $10 sweatshirts. Like the more expensive clothes is, the more it's allowed to be lighter and breathe. The cheaper it is, the more it holds everything in.
Yeah.
I'll put one fucking $10 fleece on, and I will be so hot. It's not even funny. It's a base layer. So go to Walmart and buy one of those and then put your jacket over it.
My personal perspective on that is...
I'm not buying your Sitka, I know you don't wear Sitka, do you?
My fat butt is going to sweat, and I'm going to be wet, and I'm going to be cold.
I thought we were talking about cold stuff. I was just saying...
No, I'm talking about cold. If you wear the wrong... let's say some people were built different, so that cheap stuff may be good to you, but how much of that is the Arbogast cheapskate versus adjusting?
I'm not trying to be cheap. I just don't. I don't like the bulkiness.
I would love to walk into during a rut hunt. I would love to walk into, if I have 6 stalls, I would love to walk up to a stall and have an app that I could and their clothing, their bow, their optics, and if there's $5,000 to $10,000 there
easily,
huh?
Easily.
I mean,
yeah. So it's not for everybody. You
don't
have to have that stuff to be a successful hunter.
But it is the warmth without the
comfort.
bulk.
I do want the clothes that don't bulk, because I was telling Joel, like, I am warm, but like I'm like, well,
I mean, I have a little light, First Light jacket or whatever.
There's other.
That thing
it doesn't matter what
warmish.
manufacturer. There's
First
good quality
Light,
stuff.
First Light, yes.
Yeah, that's a good product. Yeah. But what it is, I'm having a hard time getting motivated to go anyway because
you have a lot of
because I don't really have what I feel like is.
Oh, I thought that was Spider.
Opportunity of being successful, so it's hard. So when it get like this big cold,
send me hunting, you send me kill pics all summer, spring, fall long.
Pics, but did I kill any of those deer?
I'm not talking deer. I'm talking about other species and other animals.
Oh, well, yeah, we could talk about that. Yeah. Those kinds of hunts are different. Yeah. But I'll tell you, that's that's truly... Joel does the work for your clients for the most part.
But I mean,
that's the same thing.
The white-tailed deer is one of the most sought after.
Oh, it's the most popular game animal
sought
around.
after game animal.
So I've killed some trophy class exotics and some other stuff, but I haven't killed world class exotics because that comes with a huge pay sticker. And it's fun. And then it's also off season. It's in different parts of the country I enjoy going to. But yeah, I don't have a 200+ inch even total Buckmaster type score.
A lot of people that hunt here love the the Texas aoudad hunts, man.
What's it
Yeah.
all? I don't even know what it
Like in the
is.
wild in
it's
Texas.
a
and
sheep or close to a sheep.
It's kind of a poor man's sheep hunt. I mean,
Yeah, a fat boy like me could do it. So there's different kinds of Aldad hunts. They were native to North Africa. If you can ever remember seeing like what I always thought was goats on pyramids, even old Steve Martin.
yes.
That's an Aldad is what that's depicted at.
What was it, Steve Martin?
Yeah,
Walk like
King
walk.
Tut. King
Yeah.
Tut. No, the
Yes,
Bengals
King
was
Tut.
the
Yes.
walk like an Egyptian. But
Looks like a sheep. They look a little skinnier in the
they're
face.
actually in a genus. The rams will be.
But they're in the wild in
Yeah.
Texas.
They're considered an invasive species. They were introduced down there. But
They got like long hair on the bottom of
yeah,
their...
they got their part of their trophy.
Is the Neil guy
characteristics-
wild in the Texas?
Yeah, part of their trophy is the beard and the chaps. So you look on their front legs, and then of course horn length, and so they call it the poor man's sheep hunt because first of all, you don't got to draw a tag unless it's a controlled public land hunt. But you know the realism of getting a Alaska stone or doll or a Rocky Mountain bighorn or a desert bighorn.
Those are all now.
You can pay
100.
You could pay $30,000 worth of points and
100
not
grand.
draw. And it's a lot of those are a one-time draw. It's a lifetime draw. You get one tag. And if you kill, great. If you don't, you're done. You know, some of the state
fucking sheep with long horns.
some of the state agencies, I mean, they're beautiful. I have
Yeah, I would too, but not for
But-
$100,000.
No, I mean you can like
kill a shit ton of deer for $100,000.
Like the Alaskan doll, you're probably more like
65 or 70.
yeah,
for the
you're
Alaskan
down.
doll.
A stone sheep might one of the two is a little cheaper than the
Down
other.
payment on a $400,000 home.
Well, I know people have done it. Price out a brown bear hunt.
They're getting 40 to 50 now and stuff. Or
Probably, I've
More?
seen.
So
Yeah.
is there places?
Depends on who you go with.
Is there places like brown bear or the sheep? Is there public? Can you get a tag
if
and go hunt
you're
yourself?
an Alaska resident,
Yeah.
you can
Oh,
get a
okay.
tag and go hunt on your
Yeah,
own.
if you're
Gotcha.
non-resident, you can draw a tag or secure a tag, but you have to pay a guide,
Gotcha.
which is absolutely makes sense because that's a whole different level.
Oh yeah.
You know, I wouldn't go into those.
And then in
Yeah.
Montana, there are a couple over-the-counter units.
Yeah.
And but like so, say Unit 3, there's 3 Rocky Mountain Bighorn tags, and it is your responsibility every 48 hours if you're up there hunting.
You got a satellite phone.
You
Check
have
in.
to have
You
a
gotta call
satellite
them.
phone and check in.
Make sure that somebody's not overlapping.
And if the
And they're
if
quota
the quota
tags,
is
too.
met,
Yeah,
you're
so-
done.
you're done. You gotta
if
leave
it's
the
a
mountain.
3 animal quota in this unit and 10 people have tags, yeah. As soon as
It's a competition
as soon
to get one and
as soon as
against that
Corey,
guy.
Gary, and Joel tag out, everybody else is out of luck.
So
Yeah.
speaking of tags, Gary, did Ohio change something in their out of state pricing?
Yeah.
And
Let me talk about how pricing is done. It's a legislative. The Division of Wildlife, the chief, does not have the authority to create new types of permits
the
or
chief just
set
can't
the
say
price.
the price.
So I know I get a lot of criticism from hunters, and I see it on social media. It needs to be this and it needs to be that. We can't just do that. So there's a lot of other factors that come into play. You've got all the hedonic economics, meaning trickle down stuff that have to come into play. Hotel room. Your business has. Your hunt's one thing, but I bet you everybody has to pay for travel and other
Everything.
stuff, equipment getting here. But the chief of the division does not have the authority to just decide, hey, because all of our resident hunters think that non-resident tags ought to be $1,000, they can't do that. There's other factors that roll into it, legislators, business, tourism bureaus. There's a lot. It's big business. I mean, Ohio is like $12 billion, I think, and I don't remember how many of annual revenues it's hunting related. And then there's you could Google that, Chris, but
Yeah, Google this, Chris. How many were
direct jobs that are related to hunting industry?
How much did the increase decrease
hold on,
the amount of tags?
So Ohio's set up on a either sex tag and a non-resident hunting. It's 400 and some now.
What was the question?
I think I saw that like the increase lowered the amount of non-resident tags.
Usually when you have a price increase, whether resident or non-resident, the first year you take a hit about 10%. People were mad. I'm not going. Well, you kind of. I really miss going to Ohio. Okay, I'll pay it.
Corey and I kind of talked about this, and we felt that all those EHD counties, a lot of the Pennsylvania and West Virginia people,
they probably didn't come.
May not have came because of that.
So that probably hurt some local economics.
Yeah.
I understand, but there's a biological response and a need, and then there's a hunter response, And here's the way I look at it: if you don't have the deer on your property, you can't kill it. If it's already dead, you can't kill it again.
No.
So it is kind of regulating itself at that point. Yeah. But not having actual real data, you could go 2 miles away and there's roadkills happening every other day on us. I talked to a gentleman up in Allen County, landowner, local police officer, just kept track anecdotally of how many deer collisions there were on every patrol night that he spent on this road. And he'd been doing this for a while, and it averaged, every time he goes out on patrol, 1.5 deer are hit by a car.
Every day.
Well, he doesn't work every day, but his shifts. So there are places where, I drive to Columbus every day on 33. Certain times a year, I either see what I know was a strike, because semi-truck strikes are not very pretty, and a lot of times all you see is a
blood
stain.
splatter, stain.
But we see them all the time. There's certain areas, obviously, where there's refuges or TNC ground that there's no hunting, or TRC ground where it's very limited. There's certain hot spots where you get roadkill.
I thought that the local Steve Austin said like 1.5 to 2 per year or per week.
Yeah.
For the year.
So West Virginia is
average it out.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So 52 weeks.
Let's say about 75 to 100 a year.
I know people don't want to hear this, but that's an economic stimulator based on deer also. Because
it is.
It's absolutely false about when you see everybody saying the insurance companies, people that are saying, here's the problem.
The insurance companies
the
try to
deer
regulate.
are devastated. The herd's dropping. I'm not. Problem is you and I have both hunted places before that had deer, and they don't now. Deer are not equally distributed. Hunter behavior, as I mentioned, they don't look beyond the end of their nose. I've been hunting under this same red oak tree or white oak tree for the last 40 years, and 25 years ago, I killed a deer every year, and then it's got to every other. Now I can't even see a deer. Take an aerial view of that, and that 50 acres with one white oak in the middle is surrounded by condos now.
I think deer numbers are as high as they've ever been.
Oh God, they're crazy high.
They're through the roof in places, but not everywhere.
But not everywhere. But overall,
Eastern, Western Logan County.
Yeah,
it's very obvious.
Very obvious.
It has nothing to do with Amish. It has everything to do with has a little. But
I was going to say it's got to do something with
it.
Little bit.
It's a different kind of hunting style. A little bit. I loved doing deer drives back in the day.
I lived around my whole life, and I know they're hunting every month of the year.
I drove by a place yesterday, and a horse and buggy was parked there, and
they're hunting
They were hunting.
It would be in freaking the middle of summer. They'd be out killing deer and taking deer out of the woods.
Bad
all the time.
In the middle of summer?
In the middle of summer, in my backyard, in our back wetland, they would be sitting in the tree stand. We could see them from our back porch, and they would be shooting deer and then taking them out of the wetland.
They may have been permitted for crop depredation, or maybe not.
They did whatever the hell they wanted.
One of the biggest things you got to do is you see something, say something. There's so many people will provide allegations, but this, and this, but they never step up and say, hey, there's a problem here. So law enforcement can only do the job as well as people were helping.
So quick, I got a question.
There was 4,908 fewer non-resident licenses this year.
What was the total?
About 5,000.
Dropped down
Total
from
sold,
about 30, dropped down from like 39,000 roughly.
To about 35,000.
Yeah.
39.
So
to
you're
about
looking
34.
at like 11% of all the tag sales or so, 10 to 11%.
That's great though, because we doubled the price roughly.
Yeah.
And
roughly.
so we
Made more money.
Well, a huge amount. I mean, you could have lost.
Well, you don't
That's
want to
awesome.
look at it that way, but it is. I mean,
Why would we not want to look at it? Though? It's a huge increase.
We pay premium prices to travel. I mean, what's an Illinois tag right now? $750, $850?
No, I paid $427 for my tag.
Elk
this year.
tags in places I
come
know
with-
are $1,500 and up.
My Illinois tag come with my license, buck tag, and a doe tag for $427. That's what
but
I
that
paid
was
the last 2 years.
bow only, probably, right? Wasn't a shotgun.
Yeah, those are two
they have
complete.
different
Those are
seasons.
two complete different.
So
licenses.
if I wanted to hunt with a gun in Illinois and with a bow, how much are we talking?
I don't know. I don't gun hunt.
$1,000. Yeah.
I don't think you have to buy them separately. They're two different tags.
They're
Like,
two different
They're
tags.
two
Yeah,
different
they're two
tags,
different
but they're
tags.
both non-resident tags. And my point, you're paying a lot.
Yeah,
So
I went there.
we are,
Kill two deer
one of
now.
the
Yeah.
papers I provided you with will show the non-resident breakdowns.
Oh, does it? I was looking
Yeah,
for that. I couldn't
and-
find it.
So look through there. It's on one. It will tell you the top states. I think it's on the back page.
Oh, I think you're right. I think I did see that.
Somewhere. But anyway, the majority of the tags are coming from not states you might. All 50 states had hunters in Ohio the last year, even Alaska.
All 50. Well, that's
There's been a-
probably what's his name bought a tag.
Well, I don't know. There was at least
What
one.
was the statement? All 50
All 50
50
states
states.
had at least one non-resident deer tag
in Ohio.
purchased to hunt in Ohio.
That's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
I had Arizona.
That's kind of wild to think Hawaii. You know, somebody's coming from Hawaii to.
Yeah. So Hawaii has deer. They're considered invasive, and they're
You're saying we sold a tag from an out state to someone? From
yeah, they
Hawaii?
came here and hunted.
That's wild.
There's some folks that come every year.
this
You
is-
never know. Okay, maybe they were born and raised in Ohio, and they're coming back to hunt with family.
Right. right.
Here's a number I think is super fascinating. 424,000 deer permits across the hunting or across Ohio were sold.
Right.
424,000, but we only killed. Shoot, Gary,
About
help me out.
230 this
230,
230-ish.
230-ish.
The highest top with seventh highest deer harvest, and you think about
55%.
we're probably
I mean,
at
I
50%.
killed 5 this year.
Yeah, we're probably at 50% or lower in hunter numbers too. There's half the hunters, and I know I hear this from people. There's too many hunters. There's too many hunters. There's half
I
the
don't hear
number
that.
of hunters. The problem is than there was in 2000, and the big problem with that's access and opportunity.
Yeah. I think there's a lot less.
And there's a
hunters.
lot more things you can do that are more affordable or more. I mean, I could play golf every day of the summer if I wanted to, or I could bowl almost every day. You know, I could go watch sporting events.
What are you spending on hunting, Gary? What are you dumping your money on?
I'm not.
Oh.
You know,
I mean,
I dump my money on hunting, but that's what
I mean, I'm
choose
saying
to do.
my point
But
is,
I'm saying
what's
there's a
expensive
lot.
about
There's
hunting?
a lot cheaper things to spend money on than hunting. Well, think about it. If let's say you're buying a lease, you're buying equipment, you're buying bait,
Yeah.
trail cameras, all that.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
knock on the door and get a quality place to hunt is hard. It's there. You can do it.
You're right.
So
You're right.
let me tell you, I don't go knock on doors in Texas or Florida or Georgia where I go hunting. You know, I'm paying to go.
Right.
And I'm choosing some of the species or some of the cheapest things. I can't touch a quality whitetail hunt for some of the hunts I've paid to go on.
Right.
And then some of it's networking and who you know, and you get invited and you
What's a
make
gator
friends.
cost these days? What's a gator?
Depends on how big it is.
Are you shitting me? They charge you by the size?
Some of them do, and then there's public land tag draws and there's different hunting restrictions of what implements you can use down in Florida, and then there's private property tags. The They also have property owner depredation tags, which are transferable. So outfitters will buy those up. And yeah, a lot of those hunts are billed by how long
So
they
if
are.
it's an 8-footer, 9-footer, 10-footer.
So you could kill 6-footer or under for like $400. You go kill 8 foot and up, you're probably automatically into $2,500. The tag,
It's that big of a jump.
yeah, and you get 10, 12, price on request. Somebody
Price
goes and
on request.
Yeah, some landowner might have a
POR.
13 footer or something, which are dinosaurs, and there are not very many of them. But some rancher might locate one. They'll work a deal with an outfitter and say, hey, I got this, and there's somebody willing to pay for that, just like crocs in Africa. So my gator was 10 foot 1 inches. I drew for a public land tag, which was very low odds being a non-resident. But my tag, altogether, my tags for that gator was about $1,100. It allowed you to kill 2 if you were successful to kill 2. And then I had friends of mine doing the self-guiding, and then we hunted really hard. It didn't pan out, and then I had a contact down there that was a gator processor and things. And I just texted him and said, hey, thanks for all the intel. We worked really hard. Next few days, I'm just going to spend time with my wife, going traveling around, eating and seeing things. And he goes, wait a minute. He says, I got a guy that might help you out. And it's a gator outfitter, and real nice guy, young guy. I'm happy to hook anybody up with him that wants to know more. But he goes, listen, I got to get paid a little bit, obviously, but I want to do intel on this lake because they're units. Like some are just, you can only hunt on this lake. And for public land hunts, you can only use like harpoons, gigs, archery. You can't use a gun or anything. So I was hunting with a crossbow, or there's what they call snatch hooks, snagging. You see a gator, you cast a hook over him and you fight him up to where you can get a harpoon in him and bang. You can't use a firearm. You have to use a bang stick, which is 44 on
It's
the
like
end of
a
the stick.
shotgun.
Yeah,
Like a
something
'em.
like that.
Yeah.
So I got a great deal. The guy's like, hey, I tell you what, I'll charge you X number of dollars. I was already in deep, Airbnb for a week and tags. And he's like, no kill, you don't owe me a dime. You kill one that's less than 8 foot, you don't owe me a dime. You kill one 8 foot or better, here's your price, and I'll take you out the next day to kill your second tag, no more charge. And it was not in the thousands of dollars, it was in the hundreds.
Seriously?
God,
Yeah.
I'm going down to kill a gator
Well,
there.
I don't know that I can guarantee that. Now, so guaranteed tags, like private land tags, a lot of them, some of the guys that take you out are, here's a flat rate, and if we find a 10-footer or 12-footer and you want whatever, same cost. You see a 4-footer and you want to kill it, fine. But nobody's going down there to kill something
4-footer.
8 foot or under usually.
Right.
My first 2 gators.
10-foot gator is a lot bigger. I know what 10 feet is, but like, what's that weigh? 400, 500 pounds?
Mine weighed, I think it was, live weight was, it was 10 foot 1 inch, and it weighed like 320.
Wow. That's a lot of weight.
Now, there's a lot of weight to them. They don't convert to meat. So I can tell you, I do know actually, the first gators I killed was a 6 foot and an inch or 2 and a almost 8 foot. And I think between the 2 boned processed meat, I got, it was like 45 pounds of meat. So
Out of a 300 pound?
these were smaller.
The
but
6 and the 7-footer.
Okay.
So I basically traded the 10 foot 1 inch to a processor. So they have, if you're a commercial processor for gator meat, it has to be an inspected facility, and they're allowed to sell. So most of the time they charge you by the foot for processing, and then by the pound of yielded meat and packaging. So $25 a foot for basic processing, and then generally like 5 pounds of to cube it, run it through the cuber, bag it.
So 200. So you're at $350 on a 10-foot gator.
Yeah, but then what they also do, because they're allowed to commercially sell it to the restaurants and things down there to sell gator bites, they'll offer you like, hey, you keep half the meat, your head and your hide. I get half the meat, and they waive the $25 a foot. They just charge you for the packaging. Or sometimes you can say, I'll trade you the whole gator. I want my hide and my head back. And they're fine. 10-foot, 1-inch gator, good to eat, but not like a 6-footer. It's just like,
right.
Hey, 2 reasons.
I've never had
2 reasons to kill a button buck. It's easier to drag, and they taste better.
Is it good?
Yeah. The gator meat?
Gator's
Yeah.
good?
I thought he was asking about button buck. I'm like,
no, I'll bring you
wouldn't know
guys.
about that.
We can get together sometime, and
Stop
you can
it.
fry it up here. I've still got some that I really need to get used. And I had some smoked sausage made out of gator too, and it's fantastic.
No shit.
Yeah,
I
it's
have
got
never had
enough of-
gator.
So when you go to a restaurant down there, you're not probably getting the select cut or the tail. You're getting everything: dark meat, white meat.
Yeah.
But rib, some of the gator can sell $25 and $30 a pound and up. Jesus. So rib meat, the ribs are a big deal. Big enough gator, you can get the ribs. And I'll tell you, I've helped process the 2 small ones. I'm going to pay for whatever it takes.
They're a bitch.
So you just gotta, yeah. And if you nick and like break a rumen bag on a deer, that's bad, right? You nick a stomach on a gator, imagine the equivalent of 500 turkey vultures puking on. So they kill, and a lot of times they stash until it's rotten. So they have downward pressure ability, but that's why you could take that 10-foot gator, and if he wasn't rolling around thrashing, I could hold his mouth shut with just my fingers. That's why you can put a roll of electrical tape around them, and they can't open.
So they're waiting for it's rotten so they can just pull it right off the bone.
Yeah, they do a death roll, deer, hogs, whatever they eat. A lot of times, they drag it under, drown it, and cache it up under banks and things, and then as it gets
Rotten.
soft, they eat it. So that's a lot.
That's unbelievable.
Some of the gators have been recovered with like radio.
It's like eating a turkey buzzard.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the humans? They probably don't.
Oh,
find
that
many of the
happens,
humans. They probably don't find them.
Maybe not find them. I know crocs in different countries where they're at, they eat hundreds of people all the time, and but that's a third world country. Generally, if that happens in the U.S., they're able to.
Because on land, the croc like hauls ass. Or they're fast.
They're pretty close. They have
I've
they
seen
can
videos of
they
them
can rush
hauling
for a
ass.
short distance, like 30 mile an hour for 20 feet or something like that. Yeah.
So you're saying you're fucked.
Yeah, I'm like,
If I'm walking along and
gonna
don't
juke
know,
it.
and I don't know he's sitting right there, and I'm going up to the bank to like cast a rod or something, or my dog runs up there.
I love that famous video of that. The dog the little white dog gets taken underwater.
And the guy wades
and
in.
he goes in there and beats the fuck out of this gator, and he pulls the jaws open and throws his dog up on the bank, and he sledges it, and then he walks out.
I've never seen that.
It's awesome.
People love their dogs.
He dove in the water, grabbed that gator, picked it up, and started beating the hell out of it. And
let me
it's
tell
an awesome
you,
video.
if it was a 10-foot gator, he would not have.
It
done
looked
that.
about like a 6 foot,
6,
5,
7,
6.
Yeah. It was
but
a
he's
little dog like Toby
he's-
was. About
He's still
that size.
fighting fighting the gator.
That's awesome.
It was.
I've
awesome.
also seen videos of the gator will come up in the backyard and
Happy Gilmore.
The woman or man of the property like starts cussing it, and they'll walk out and just hit it in the head with a skillet, and it'll run off. So yeah, but that's fun. But I traded mine for I traded my meat just for the hide and the head back because I didn't have a cooler with me big enough to fit that head in.
Right,
and
exactly.
the buddy, Duck went with me. They were going to get the meat.
Donnie went with you?
And they got frustrated. I mean, we hunted hard, and but I mean, I kept.
Was Donnie hunting?
They had permits that would allow them to take place in the hunt and use my tags. That's the other thing that works. And so they wanted meat, him and his other friend, because we've been on hog trips together too, and they wanted meat. so we hunted a good solid week. And let me tell you, you're out there with lights and bugs were, I mean, you know, we weren't having any luck. It was a hard hunt. And then the stars all aligned, and you know, it was pretty neat. We were out there with the guide. There's two young guys. One of them was in the Philadelphia Phillies program for about 3 years. A pitcher, just couldn't make it any higher. Good guy. He's, you know, coaches now. You know,
Yep.
that kind of thing.
Yep.
But he also does a lot of businesses, and so we're out glassing, you know, looking at the cattails and trying to find. And we hadn't really seen any big gators. And by the further I'm going along, I'm getting less picky. You know, at this point, I'm like, I'll shoot with my crossbow, and I'll just shoot a 6-footer or 5-footer even just to get some meat. Well, though Donnie left like the day I killed.
He left.
Yeah, they left to head back to Ohio. You know, he was working for Dennis now, so he needed to be back to help. There was a lot of business that weekend, unfortunately. Yep. And so he took off, and I had a, you know, like a 30 quart or 40, whatever, a little smaller Arctic.
Yep.
The head wouldn't even fit in that thing. So he took the big, and we had our SUV, a Traverse. We didn't have room for Christy and I to get back. I didn't have a hitch, and, you know, or would have to go out. And I was like, well, I said, you guys want it to ship back? Here's about what it's going to cost you. And they're like, nah. And you know, they didn't believe me when I texted and said, hey, I got one, 10-foot 1 inch. You're full of it. So it was a perfect storm. We watched this gator come out. There was a couple others, and we hadn't seen anything that size in 7 days.
7 days.
Yeah. And so it was a horrible storm. This Lake Istapoga is like very shallow, like Indian Lake, but I forget, we're talking, it's like the 5th biggest lake in Florida.
Okay.
And Istapoga, you know, it was named after a bunch of Native Americans drowned. It's very dangerous. So when the wind picks up, a storm comes in, you know, you got to get the heck off, because the waves and trough, I mean, like at Indian Lake, we've seen, you could see the bottom in the trough. Like, duck hunters can really be in danger on that lake. People don't think so, but if you don't watch what you're doing, it can happen. But we were out there, and one of the traditional ways is you float a bait, which can't use a hook. It's a piece of a dowel rod attached to, you know, some heavy braid, and you try to get that up and, you know, and upwind of a gator. So they smell it, they run out, they swallow it. And what that does, you can't horse it in like you're fighting a fish with that. It allows you to track that gator. So you got to motor and get close to that gator, and hopefully he sinks when you put a little pressure on him. Then you get out the big treble hooks and stuff, and you keep casting until you get him hooked. So we did that. We came close a couple times, and then this gator, a couple other decent ones, and this one.
Can you drone gators?
That's what we did.
No, you didn't.
Yep. So it's totally lawful. So the guy is like, I got a secret weapon for you. I'm like, what's that? And he says,
What year was this?
This was last September.
So
Makes sense.
Were you like
So
right
we were
down
in
on
the boat.
water?
No, we were in a boat. We're setting out in back like couple hundred yards from this gator. He pulls out a case from the boat, fires, puts his drone all together, and it's like one that they similarly use for offshore fishing.
Yep.
So he puts that bait, ties a little thing on it. He flies it out and drops it about 25 yards.
Drops a bait?
In front of that gator. Gator swims up, swallows it, and he's like, it's on now. So we motor out, and one of the techniques, you got to keep it from getting back into heavy cover. So we motor out.
Drop a line and a bait from your thermal, and you're like,
yeah.
So was it still attached to the drone?
It was attached to the dowel rod. No, the drop is kind of like a release, like they do for fishing, offshore fishing.
Okay.
You can fly a bait out. So, you know, the gator swallowed it. We motored out, got between it and the heavy reeds and cover. And then, so what they do is went out toward open water. When they get out in open water, they'll drop. So then you kind of reel real slow on that line until you're like directly over top of him. And that's when you use the hooks.
Mm.
And so it was exciting.
It sounds
so
exciting.
If I would have paid for a guaranteed hunt, that's that probably would have been $7,000-8,000 hunt.
Yeah.
You know, I got pennies on the dollar, but you know, we're talking about vulnerable. But yeah, I love the exotic stuff.
No, I like to hear it too. We just
axis deer. I've killed axis deer, Aldad ewes, not trophy rams, some exotic sheep, and you know, most recently was a black buck hunt, and yeah, I got it. It wasn't as big as it could get, but I shot it with a crossbow.
Nice.
So you know, you're limited to a 2-3 day hunt, and these things aren't petting zoos. I mean, you know, they'll win, even the cattle out there will wind you and run.
Right.
So yeah, so I got a lot more on my bucket list. A big whitetail would be nice.
So I was gonna ask about the lost my train of thought, Gary. I was sitting there listening to your story about the gators the entire time.
Yeah, no, I'm here as long as you want, even if you got to split this up.
Why did you put cell cams on your list? What was about cell cams on the list? Is that something kind of a hot topic right now?
Yeah, on the kind of, so there's a lot of hunters that, you know, I see a lot of questions being asked about cell cams. Is there any future regulations proposed right now? You know, not. But some of the western states, you know, public land, they have outlawed them in a lot of states.
I didn't know that.
Did
you know that, Joel?
Yeah.
That they outlawed cell cams in western states?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and the reason
recently,
yeah,
like Montana, I don't think you
yeah,
can use
there's
them,
several
period.
states now.
like recently they outlawed them, or from the beginning.
Put restrictions on them.
Montana's been a while.
There are some states, I think Kansas just recently, you can't use trail cams on public land in Kansas.
Really?
Yeah, I think they changed that.
Some places you can use them up until a certain point.
Right, up till the season starts. Or they have to be, like Tacticam now has got programming in their cameras that delays the send. So 24, 48 hours after the pictures, so you can't get real time.
So that's
so
counted
think about a waller out in Montana, Arizona. You know, you're an outfitter. You got a cell cam on there. Bing! There's a trophy bull at the waller.
Oh yeah.
I got a client. They fly him in with a helicopter, drop him right on that waller.
I mean, I've heard,
and they can kill a bull like that within a couple hours.
Yeah, that's not
guys that have Nevada mule deer tags and stuff. They'll find a water hole in the middle of nowhere, and there might be like 10 cameras on that water hole.
Yeah, and so those are the kinds of abuse things that are getting. And think about the resource there compared to deer. You know, I don't see. You know.
The cameras are. I mean, the deer's never got a rest. He's observed 24/7.
Yeah. So I don't see any proposals planned for that, but there are people that attribute that to why we can't effectively manage our overall deer densities and population. Because let's think about it. There's more mature bucks on the landscape. I know what's out there. I don't have to shoot that 3.5-year-old 120-inch buck.
Because I'm
but
waiting
when we were kids and we were hunting,
that's a trophy.
It's like, man, if a deer with antlers. I mean, Joel was with me on the first buck I killed.
Because you were shooting the unknown.
Yeah. And at that time, that little 1.5-year-old 8-point was bigger than any deer my dad had killed. You know, and I don't know how many years of hunting.
I struggle with this because I think there's pros and cons to cell cams, and
it's like drones. I absolutely would not endorse. I would do everything I could to keep them on the table for recovery.
Yeah.
Oh, the drones.
Yeah, drones and cell cams.
Is that not what I said?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all agree. I think everybody, and I think that video.
Think about it. One, you're conserving the resource, and two, you're taking another hunter off the landscape, unfortunately. So he's killed his buck. So 85% of successful buck hunters won't kill a second deer. That's actual stats from here. Well, think about it. Tag out in Ohio, what are you doing?
I've always liked
You're going to Illinois. You're going to West Virginia. You're going to Kentucky. You're chasing bone everywhere else. You're not managing the herd.
Always.
Right.
I know
I
this
agree, Gary.
this would be hurtful to Joel, but like I've always wanted the earn the buck tag.
Yeah.
Because
there's pros and cons to that.
I've always,
truthfully, if Joel could enforce that, property owners can enforce that.
I mean, you guys could whack a doe within a day.
Navigate that
You could whack it.
As a statewide regulation, it's not effective.
But
it's
I mean,
been proven.
But in your, has it been proven?
It has.
Because
Been
they
proven.
do the ghosts. They
give away free doe tags in like Missouri and different places, and they still can't kill enough antlerless deer.
So I mean,
and if you got to earn a buck, I'll go tag a roadkill laying down here in Joel's ditch.
Yeah.
I got my buck.
Like
Wisconsin,
weekend
they did
at
that.
Bernie's.
Yeah, they did that at Wisconsin. I mean, 5 guys that hunt together will tag the same deer.
the older I get,
Chris is like,
We hear Cheetah's back
we caught him with his hands in the cookie jar.
the older I get, the more because by the way, I do my part. I took 4 deer. I took 4 deer past my buck. Yeah. So the older I get, the more I think about going back to the SD cards, the non-baiting, I just want, so I think about, you did it for many, many years, and I think it separates, but then I go to the other side, which thinks there are some guys like me that are so focused on one deer that they will pass several great deer to get that one extreme deer, and so there's pros and cons to both sides of what I'm saying out of my mouth.
And to
pros and cons. There's pros and cons, and so it's so
deer
hard to have
vehicle collisions, crop damage. It could be a 200 or a 80-inch 6-point. It doesn't matter, and that's why you have to urban deer is a whole different thing.
So the state of Ohio does not have a statistic on, and I'm asking this, you don't have to have an answer. The state of Ohio doesn't have an answer to when we were taking the most deer and what situation or what level of technology. They don't have a...
Not really, because the herd has grown exponentially.
They don't have a ratio,
Joel and I
though?
are 16 years old and we're hunting, you can go back and see harvest record, but think about the number of hunters, also the number of deer. It used to be 1 in 4 hunters was successful for a deer.
Oh my God!
Antlered or
when was that? Roughly.
I mean, when we were
2000,
when we were 85 to 95. I mean, the technology wasn't there.
Yeah. So now you want to compare to 2000, we roughly have half as many hunters.
No shit, half as many hunters.
And it's closer to a 50% success rate. So the average successful hunter, meaning you've tagged a deer, I've tagged a deer, Joel's tagged a deer, will tag an average, and it's, how do you tag half a deer? But 1.5 deer per hunter that is successful, that kills, a deer. They'll likely sow less of those. So, it used to be like 80% of successful hunters would kill the second deer, and then it decreases. It's just like bag limits. Bag limits are we have great deer because we have a 1-buck state. That, I don't know, that may change somewhere in the future too, because, as you lose hunters, numbers, things like that, it's becoming the European model instead of the North American conservation model. If I can't afford a $5,000 to $25,000 outfitted hunt, I'm probably not going to have anywhere to go.
Well, I mean,
we're not going to kill enough. I mean, you make an effort to kill antlerless deer. I get it, But did you kill more antlerless deer this year than you did bucks?
The
thing for me. The thing for me, as it got into January, is freezer space and what to do with them.
So that brings up,
real quick,
donation program.
I do want to say before you say that, we were at a 52% bucks to doe ratio. I mean, so we're killing 52%, whether they're sheds, button bucks, or antlered bucks.
So
52 to 48%.
So
from
bucks.
48%.
So if you go by the strict
So, I mean, that's
biological definition. A button buck is a buck, right?
Yeah, it's a buck.
So they don't count, believe it or not, as
a doe kill.
well, they do. I mean, from a deer management, deer density, the button bucks are factored out.
Well,
So if you look at that now, you know, we're barely killing more antlerless deer. Now you factor out the does in that, which are the baby makers, right? You know, a doe fawn's probably getting bred. I'll show you guys later some video of tending and chasing that was earlier this week of a mega deer. Well, maybe not a mega deer, but bigger than anything I've ever had an opportunity.
I mean, I'm getting trail cam pictures of deer.
Oh yeah,
that are like that big.
So they're maturing later. The rut is all, you know, November. So 85% of the rut occurs from like the 5th of November to the end of November, peaking at around the 15th. I know everybody has different thoughts, and it could be regional, moon phase, all the other stuff, which I know you buy into moon phases, but there's no science to, you know, they'll even say it doesn't. And there's been peer-reviewed research that shows no correlation. But anyway, we can talk about that some other time. I mean, I don't know that much about
the wall
it.
talks
the wall
about that.
talks, but
the moon's got.
Think about it. You've done so much work. You've located that animal. Wind, slight barometric pressure. You know, it could be very realistic that maybe those bucks are walking a little bit earlier because the moon phase is more clouded and they feel more comfortable. You know, there's all kinds of theories, but, you know, yeah. So we're not killing, you know, we're close to a 50-50 ratio.
50-50 ratio.
So think about a doe fawn will have one fawn. A yearling fawn's probably going to have two. 3.5-year-old does are definitely having two. And like 10% of them are probably having trips. The biggest number I've heard of, like National Deer Association, we'll talk about, you know, what's his name, Grant? Yes,
Grant Hill or
Grant Hughes, or maybe. But anyway, Grant Woods.
Grant Woods, that's it.
So
Grant Hill's the basketball player.
Yeah, the biggest. You know, they've had 5 deer born to one fawn. Now, not all. They didn't all live. Yeah, they didn't all live, and they didn't all live.
What did you just say?
5
does.
So think about sheep
buck.
and goats. They can have quints. They don't always are not healthy. They don't always raise them. So a deer is basically a goat when it comes right down to it.
But you're talking about that number, and Gary said that to make an effect, you need to be at 80%.
To drop the population.
80%.
And think about it. It's hard enough to go out and kill your buck. And if you're passing does because you're waiting on your buck you want, which to me, you guys would have more experience, but I think the more does you kill earlier, the better.
But you know, he's talking about the donation program and everything.
Well, the
but
earlier does also make for a little more intense rut, but I think we got so many deer on the landscape that it'd be probably hard to measure that.
Yeah, we gotta knock them out before we can talk about that. It needs to be ideally.
So
does it need to be?
It's about a 50% success rate now to just kill a deer. And think about half the number of hunters just killing a deer than there were 25 years ago.
Does that mean that, like, do you think 200,000 people went out and hunted just the buck and they didn't get the buck? Or they like were hunting for a buck and didn't see a buck?
It's transitional. Is it around here? I feel as it gets to be the end of November, December, then people are
they're compromising on the size of the buck they kill. I'll be honest. If I could go kill 5 does in October, put me on it. Then I'll hunt for a buck the rest of the season. You know, I would even probably buy a hunt where I could kill 5 does, you know, doe hunt. And there's 2 reasons. 1, I want them off the landscape. 2, I'm getting old, fat, and lazy. I don't want to freeze my ass off in late season.
Can you not, where you're at, Gary, can you not kill does?
No, I don't have enough. Well, it depends. You know, I don't really have enough access. It depends on crop rotation on the biggest farm I can hunt. My personal property and then a few other properties that I hunt, yes, I could probably, but by the time I get around to all, you know, Joel will laugh and tell you I'm an ABC hunter. You know, if he'll take me out and put me on 5 does, I'll go kill them. You know, but me trying to do the work to get the 5 does, either I'm worried about, I'm waiting on Bullwinkle because I know he's there. But
that's the thing, you know.
Truthfully,
in that October, you're getting a picture of Bullwinkle.
Yeah.
you
so
know.
I hunted the opening day this year, and I had to really convince myself to go out on the last day. And Joel, you can pat me on the back. I had about probably a 2.5-year-old, 125, 130-inch deer.
And you didn't
20
shoot
yards broadside. I let him walk.
Nice.
Yeah, I was planning to kill a doe. I was hoping to, but I wanted to take a picture of him, which I did. I'll show you later, just to send you and say, "Look, I let him go."
I can see your I see your blind in your backyard.
My auto flash scared him off, and so I wasn't hunting on my property. I was hunting on another place, and the 50 antlerless deer and other small bucks that were out feeding in the field that were eventually going to be making their way in.
All spooked.
He took off blowing, snorting, and, you know, the chain reaction. So I was like, oh, I'm done, but it was cool. It was a fun hunt. And truthfully, you know, the last buck I killed, I swear to God, it was the one I had pictures of. Noah did it this year. He was making all fun of me. He killed a Hancock County buck, and he'd been sharing, and we shared the feeds on the cameras, and I know which one. It was early light. He got excited because he hasn't killed that many. He's killed a lot of game. He's a duck hunter, to be honest. He just shoots deer because duck season's closed. But this year he got interested in, you know, that old Horton Fury, put it back into service, and he went out and shot a good deer, and he was excited. He made a really good center hit, maybe a little low, but it was mostly liver, and it was 12 hours. You know, he went out 6 hours, bumped it, and then I'm calling and getting him a drone because he's sending me trail cam pictures. It's this deer, Dad. I'm like, great, I will pay for the drone. And it wasn't that deer.
It wasn't
that deer. And, you know, given, you know, it was lawful shooting time, but, you know, it was not a real, it was a good buck. Don't get me wrong. It was a solid, solid 3.5-year-old deer, which he's killed a lot of them that size. Killed more of them than I have. But yeah, we recovered it. And what was funny is I shot a doe the same night in my backyard. Just smoked her, whipped right through. It was similar to the one early. I could not find her. I'm like, I started losing confidence. I'm like, there's no way. I mean, she was closer than the one I shot with you. And I'm talking to my buddy that went and helped recover that deer for Noah. I said, hey, you interested in maybe a buy one, get one? And he's like, oh, yeah, sure, whatever for you. He says, I'm on my way back. He said, I'll be there in like 20 minutes. And he no more than got that drone up over my house, and there she was. My daughter and I had walked easily 15 feet from her. She was in the thickest gnarly. I mean, she didn't go 15 yards, and I could not find her. I'm on my hands and knees shining lights. I probably would have never recovered her if it hadn't been. She was right there. She was right there, and it was a perfect shot. Very little arrow blood and none on the ground. And it was a Boilermaker. It was about like the one my nephew shot over here. I don't know how that deer went 500 yards. That your son-in-law helped me drag that out. Yeah. No way. I mean, looking at the hole, I mean, his hole was like that even. Pass through.
Before we wrap up, I just want to, part of everything that I'm doing trapping-wise.
Yes.
This guy was part of my. He was part of my.
I sucked at it.
He was part of
my
trapping career.
He dumped me as a partner because he could catch 3-to-1 fox that I could.
He was part of my trapping career.
But we had a ball.
We did.
We couldn't drive. I don't say I rode a bicycle much, but we did. We had a good time. Trapped behind our houses.
We did.
Every place we could get to.
And stuff.
But you keep in mind a raccoon.
What is
probably the highest dollar raccoon?
$30 then.
30 to 40. I know I sold a few that were at $40.
So Gary, do you know the law right now? If you catch a raccoon in the trap, like what are you supposed to do since it's out of season?
Well, is it a nuisance? if you're trapping because it's a nuisance issue, then you can kill that raccoon. You can't. There's no market really for it to sell it.
Because I probably have about 24 coyote sets out right now.
Yeah.
And when it warmed up, the coons are everywhere.
Yeah, they're plugging up your traps.
And I mean, I have coons in traps right now.
Believe it or not, I was getting north of 33 in the spot that I gimped the big one.
Yep.
I have cameras and some blind set out on it. With this big snap, I got pictures of raccoons out on camera. Like sub-zero temperature.
I had so basically the coons, as soon as that cold hit, it would be like 0 and I would have coons.
They would be out. It used to be they would den and...
But then once it hit, then I probably went 2 or 3 weeks without a coon picture though.
So I did nuisance trapping. So there is a nuisance law. If everything but deer, bears, and turkeys, a landowner, if it's causing a problem,
makes a decision.
Or an agent. So like you own property and say, Joel, come up and trap these for me. He can do that. And now commercial nuisance wild animal control operators have to have a license, a certification, and they can sell the furs during open fur season. But outside, they got to just dispose. And I don't think we can kill enough raccoons anymore either.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. People say we need open season. Honestly, it's just like look at our bag limits of deer. It's 0.001% of Ohio hunters that are killing 6 deer.
Yeah.
The bag limit used to be 18, and a lot of people complain, "Oh, it's too high. It's too high. We don't have any deer."
People aren't going out and doing it though.
So it got dropped down. There's things that can help maybe because there is that 0.001% that will take 6 deer every year, all year. The issue, what we need is about 30% of our guys out there doing that.
Yeah.
Antlerless deer.
Yesterday, when it was 45 degrees, and I'm like making coyote sets, and it's 2:00 or 2:30. There's coons rolling.
Yeah.
There's coons rolling
So we
into
used
the
to be
cornfield.
a firm believer that you see a raccoon out in daylight, something's wrong with it. Nope, not at all.
No. This dude was just happy to be the hell out of the den. He was.
And in urban areas, we get that call a lot. Deer, raccoon walking down the sidewalk at 2:00. Oh, it's got to be sick. No.
He's just hungry.
Yeah, he's just doing what he does.
Yep.
But I'm having so much fun. I am.
Yeah, I saw some of the posts and watched part of the pod. That's cool. I knew that some of that talking about trapping, and then you remember I texted you about Joe Campbell when I
yes,
and I know you
Joe Goodman.
Joe Goodman. Yeah, I was talking to, he called my office to get some information about, and he goes, "Hey, I don't know." And I mentioned something.
So Joe Goodman.
And he goes, do you know Rick Bussey? Do you know Joel Snow? Do you know Tom Miranda? I go, I don't really know Tom Miranda. I know who Tom Miranda is. Well, I illustrated his book, and I was the artist for Fur Fish Game. And I'm like, you said all you need to say. Fur Fish Game was better than Playboy.
So Joe Goodman was pretty much the artist on all
from
the pictures on.
I think he told me it was like 86 or 95, maybe it was the early 90s up till just recently. He lives in Marysville.
I heard Springfield, or he lives somewhere
Marysville
near
is what he told me.
Marysville.
Union County area.
Yep.
And he's got a website. You can buy some of his artwork, prints, and different things.
I need to hook up with this guy.
But he hunts up in Allen. But he brought you up right away. I said, yeah, I got a friend that, started out trapping like Tom and ended up killing big deer. And he goes, Joel Snow.
That's what he said?
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, it absolutely is. You're right. And
we need to get him on.
Yeah, I think
John Goodman's his name.
Joe Goodman.
Joe Goodman.
Joe Goodman.
Goodman. I don't know how many covers he's done for Fur Fish Game over 25 years or whatever.
So
and Tom's book, He was the artist for that.
And Tom Miranda.
His
I need to get
coffee.
Tom on here. So Tom Doobie from Maine. Tom Doobie, who is real big into trapping and everything, he's like friends with Joe Goodman, and
Yeah.
he goes. Tom Doobie goes, "Do you know Joe Goodman?" He's like, he knows you and everything.
He told me the story that his phone rang and he picks up and he's like, "Hello," and he goes, "Hey, this is Tom Miranda." He's like, "I know who you are," because he had been a writer, contributor for Fish Game, all this stuff. And he goes, "I want you to illustrate my book."
That's
That's
awesome.
what Tom asked Joe Goodman to illustrate it. That's awesome.
So
Yes,
it was great.
is.
So world's small. I run into circles,
It is.
Unfortunately, I see people or talk to people, this guy's great. And then I talk to another person, the same individual's a low life,
Yeah.
But that's people.
Yeah.
I guarantee you there's people that don't like me or don't like my
there's a lot of
philosophies.
people that don't like me. So yeah.
Yeah.
50-50.
Well, most of that is jealousy. There is a perception that leases have changed the access in Ohio. Non-resident hunters, non-resident hunter landowners, there's all these factors, but quite honestly, you roll into a public area parking lot at the right time of year, you see 3 non-resident plates and then it turns into there's 20,000 non-residents on this area. I can't even, it's so overrated. Yeah. But I will tell you, think about all the acres that you and I both could go walk and didn't have to pay a dime. I can't do that anymore in Logan County.
It is
different. And I'm not blaming that on you.
It's the entire nation.
Yeah.
It's the entire nation.
So, literally, I don't know.
Joel, you're just ahead of it, is what it was.
I had,
you were
I had permission to
it.
waterfowl hunt out in West Texas on 125,000 acres when I was in the early 90s. I could not go out there and walk up to a house, and no, outfitters have got it all. You can go, but I want $500 a day for your party.
Trevor Law, North Carolina, said he'll door knock 100 and get one.
Yeah,
maybe.
And I believe
one
that.
Maybe.
But at 58 years old, I don't.
I know. Who's going to do that?
And that's why we're losing and not recruiting. The hunters we are recruiting are typically meat hunters, which we need to manage the deer. If you want old deer and trophy deer, it's going to catch up. You got to start taking deer off the landscape.
I have a lot of friends that are wanting to get into hunting. They just have no idea how.
Yeah.
Or they have
that's the fast women, and 30-year-olds.
Yep.
They've never had, they're looking at it from sourcing a healthy source of protein. They're not looking at it for antlers. Oh, yeah, if they get a chance to whack a big buck.
Corey wants to do a segment of the landowners that say no.
That would be really good.
I want to know why.
Why?
There is a lot of good reasons why they say no. A lot of it, I got friends and family that are hunting my property, or I'm leasing it, or the last guys I let hunt here were absolute idiots.
I'm hearing a lot of people is insurance. They say their insurance people say don't let nobody on your land
but think about anybody that's in risk management, actuaries. They're always going to tell you. You get car insurance. Oh, you need $1 million worth of this, and this, and it goes up because, So with those landowners and insurance, recreational user law, you give written permission, you're gold. You lease a property from somebody. Now, Joel gets the assumption of risk and liability, and the landowner leasing it. Yeah. So
I get it,
but a lot of that is fear factor.
So that's fine. Just give it to me for free.
That's right.
That's great. Yeah. So
Well, hey, we need to wrap this up.
I need to go see my wife.
Just so, retirement's coming soon. I'm thinking there's a 150 in I've earned it.
Gary, retirement plan. He's earned it.
All right. Well, Gary, we appreciate you.
Yeah, I love it.
Appreciate you having on.
I didn't even, I spent few hours trying to prepare for stuff we didn't even get to, but
Never goes the way you
know,
think.
take
It
a-
always goes fun.
yeah, take a look at some of this stuff and, you know,
No, we talked for an hour and a half over turkeys and
Yeah.
pheasants.
That's right.
and we
Nothing
did the
wrong with
last
that.
time. Now I
Nothing
think
wrong
about
with
it,
that.
and I brought stuff. Hey, I really want to talk about these stats, and I never get to them.
I was trying to stick to your text message,
Yeah.
but we go.
Well, you know, there's, we
know.
didn't even talk about the nasty 3-letter word much, but I'll leave it with this. So it's not a hoax. It's not a money generator. There's peer-reviewed research, CWD, that shows when the adult doe population reaches about a 30% prevalence rate, you will see a deer density crash. How long that's going to take, how soon, not any idea. And also a lot of places CWD is discovered at already like in the 20 or 25% prevalence rate. So that makes a big difference. And the other weird thing about the disease is, we got it at a scale of prevalence. So if you are opposed to, you think CWD is a hoax, you got 100 deer test positive in the whole state of Texas, you're going to say, you can't even measure or can't even hardly detect it. But let's go down to, Ohio, and let's narrow that down into a ground zero area, which let's say maybe 2 miles radius of the first detected positive. And you look at that land or prevalence rate, it could be 10, 12% prevalence. And then you get out 6 miles further, bigger, the prevalence is going to go down. But Wisconsin and Northwest Arkansas, Southwest Wisconsin, Northwest Arkansas, parts of Illinois, it's a tough disease to swallow because over here it may be devastatingly affecting densities. But like Wisconsin, the one thing I hear about them, they have the highest number of Boone and Crockett registered bucks anywhere in the U.S. They're putting more entries in Wisconsin than anywhere. Kentucky, I think, is number 2. Ohio, or maybe Ohio's number 2. Kentucky's number 3. But now you're also hearing third-generation landowners, grandpa's property, hand down to dad, they were out there, hey, this isn't real, it's not happening. Now, generation 3 is going, I can't find a deer on my property. Parts of Arkansas went from 20, mountainous cover, go from 25, when they first discovered it, it was already about 20, 25% prevalence. Now they're going to where from a 25 deer per square mile density down to a 5 deer per square mile, and you can't find a 2.5-year-old buck because they reached that 30% prevalence rate in adult does. Then you go over to another part of the state and there's too many deer. So it goes back to that hunter response, hunter behavior. You're only looking at the end of your nose. So people that don't want the inconvenience of baiting bans, things like that, or whatever their motivation is, that say it's not real and it's a hoax, it probably won't happen to them. But, I don't know when in Ohio's disease surveillance area that we'll start to see negative decline. We had 37 positives this year. Total 100 and some over since 2000. Prevalence rate's really low. I mean, if you only get 4 deer tested in a whole township or something and one of them's positive, is that a 25% prevalence rate for that township?
No.
Maybe for the township, but
No.
for the whole state? No. So some of the big names, Dr. Deere, James Kroll, that is saying CWD's always been around, always will be, it has no negative impact. Yeah, he's calculating his prevalence rates on, same with captive deer industry. Deer have been moved all around the country, probably mostly by hunters. I mean, think about it. You kill something out west, you drive it here, process it, throw the frame into the back 40 acres, it may have been positive. And eventually at some point, those prions might come in contact with one of our deer, and it's just a slow cancer. So are we, is it going to cause deer in Ohio to go extinct? No, I don't think so. Are we even going to see really negative impacts on density and things? I don't know that
We will.
any of us will ever see it, but I firmly believe it's coming. And it's a hard pill to, as a hunter in an area or a landowner, we're not trying to eradicate deer. You know, you heard thousands of deer were killed, you know, by government shooters. No, that nowhere close. Didn't even hit 1,000 over 5 years. It was like under 500. It's just to get prevalence rates. But, you know, think about it. They're looking at the end of their nose on their property, and they got the buck and all this. They're worried about that. They're worried about their neighbors, worried about, okay, if they're going to shoot all the deer, we won't have any. And we got to manage that deer for future generations, and we got to manage that healthy deer. So less deer on the landscape means healthier deer and slower distribution of disease. So if people really care about, you know, we're not close to a Logan County yet, but, you know, Hardin County, yeah. And if you really care about your grandkids, great-grandkids getting to enjoy deer, there's lots of odds against them. Mostly the pay for play is probably the biggest. But, yeah, it could get out that far. I can't tell you 20 years from now, 30 years from now, but it's probably been on the landscape in some of those states where they find it at a higher prevalence rate. Who knows how long? Yeah. Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri. But it's not accurate or fair to say I'm on the western side of Ohio and CWD is a joke.
Well, right. You said a lot of things, Gary, that we'll have to talk about next time.
Yeah. Just wanted to end with that.
Yeah. No. Great
and I'm
ending.
sure you'll get some comments and challenges on this.
It's fine.
I read your comments almost more than I watch the actual podcast.
I try not to. Chris and I talk about it. I don't read them. I don't read comments. I even Chris is like, why do you like every comment? I'm like, it's about the numbers for me. I could care less. I just like everything.
Yeah.
So, hey, appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. Have a great evening for us. Bye.
Bye.